Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto poisoned Bloodline council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Kairomaru, link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Awakening Master, Toxic Revival. Uzumaki Naruto, a young blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy of 6 years old, was walking to his first day of school at the Konoha Ninja Academy. Naruto was wearing his new ninja outfit given to him by his Jiji, also known as the Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. His awesome ninja clothes, as he called them, consisted of a short-sleeved mesh undershirt, a dark burnt orange long-sleeved overshirt, black ninja pants with a kunai holster strapped to his right thigh, and dark blue ninja sandals. Along with several of the same outfit, Hiruzen had also given Naruto a belt that had several small storage pouches sewn into it to carry various ninja tools and supplies. As Naruto ran around him, Hiruzen couldn't help but smile fondly at the child's antics. And then I'm gonna be the best in taijutsu and ninjutsu and weapons and all the other awesome ninja things, Jiji. Naruto exclaimed as he ran a few feet ahead of the Hokage. I'm sure you will be, Naruto, I'm sure you will be. Hiruzen chuckled as the boy had been proclaiming such things since he'd picked him up from his apartment that morning. Now you may be wondering why such a young child was living on his own at the tender age of 6. You see, on the night Naruto was born, the Kyuubi no Yauko, the greatest of the Bijuu, suddenly attacked Konohagakure without warning. It appeared so suddenly that no proper defense could be raised and no ways to defeat it could be found. As the ninja of Konoha raced to defend their home against the beast, the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, was welcoming his newborn son into the world. Sadly for the proud father, his wife, Uzumaki Namikaze Kushina, hadn't been able to survive the birthing of her son, with the malicious chakra and unending killing intent of the Kyuubi pressing down on all of Konoha. With no other alternative left, the Yondaime resorted to his only solution. He sealed the beast into his own son at the cost of his life. Mere hours after he had been born, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto had been left alone in this world. The Yondaime's final wish was for the whole of Konohagakure to view his son as the hero that kept them safe from the beast. However, human emotions often get the better of people, and this case was no exception. Once the newly reinstated Sandaime Hokage had revealed Naruto's status as the beast's living prison, the villagers, with their losses and undirected anger, chose baby Naruto as the target of their rage. So great was the villagers' outcry that the Sandaime passed a law stating that any person who spoke of Naruto's burden to anyone who did not already know would be executed for treason against Konoha. So it came to be that Naruto, the only child of the Yondaime Hokage, was raised alone and secluded by Sarutobi's most trusted maternal caregivers. The boy grew up being cared for by both retired and active kunoichi and shinobi. So it came as no small surprise to Hiruzen that the boy had wanted to join the village's military shinobi force. So the Hokage had enrolled the boy, despite some protests from the civilian representatives on the council and a small number of his own shinobi force, into the academy when Naruto had reached the age of 6. As they both walked towards the academy, the Hokage took notice of the glares of the villagers directed towards Naruto. It's been 6 years now, even though the villagers have calmed themselves and tried to move past that horrible night, many still can't see the boy as more than the Kyuubi. Hiruzen thought sadly as he looked upon the happy smiling form of his surrogate grandson. Hey, Jiji, we're here. We're here. Came Naruto's joyous exclamation. The Hokage looked up from his musings and smiled at the young blonde. Indeed we are, Naruto. The Sandaime replied with a grin. As the Hokage escorted Naruto to his class, he noted the looks the boy was receiving from both parents and the teachers. He mused, it looks like most of the teachers understand the boy's situation. Sadly, the parents don't seem to want their children to interact with the boy. Naruto, as happy as he was, wasn't oblivious to the glares and cold looks he was receiving from the villagers. It's always the same. He thought, they all look at me like I did something wrong to them. Naruto's thoughts were cut short when the Hokage ushered him into a classroom. Upon entering, the blonde saw various children his age sitting in several rows of seats. He noticed that several were from what his Jiji called Konoha's ninja clans, while most were civilian children who wanted to try their hand at being in the shinobi forces. Now, Naruto, said the Hokage, I want you to study hard and listen to your sensei, alright? Naruto vigorously nodded his head while replying. Sure thing, Jiji. I'll learn everything sensei teaches me and I'll be the best ninja ever. With a smile on his face and after playfully tussling the blonde's hair, the Hokage left Naruto to find a seat as the sensei began to quiet the class down in preparation for roll call. After finishing the roll call, the sensei introduced himself. Hello students, my name is Iruka and this is my assistant Mizuki, said Iruka as he pointed to Mizuki. We will be your sensei for the duration of your time here at the academy. Naruto instantly took to Iruka's kind tone and calm composure. However, he felt something was a bit off with Mizuki. Something just didn't seem right about the man. Especially when he saw Mizuki glare at him with those cold eyes he saw the villagers give him. Note to self, thought Naruto, watch out for Mizuki-sensei, something isn't right about him. Time skip end of the first semester. At the end of the first semester, the first-year student rankings were posted in the lobby of the academy for all to see. To Naruto's great joy, he was ranked a bit above the middle of the class. Yes. Naruto exclaimed in his mind, all that extra studying is paying off. Wait till I tell Gigi about this. But that thought in his mind, Naruto took off toward the Hokage Tower in the center of the village. As he arrived, he saw the Anbu guarding the doors. The two Anbu gave him a respectful bow as one opened the door for him. To this day, Naruto still couldn't figure out why his Gigi's masked ninja, as Naruto called them, were so kind and courteous to him, but he thanked them both anyway as he made his way into the tower. Upon arriving at the Hokage's office door, Naruto asked the secretary if he could see the old man. After the secretary checked with the Hokage through the intercom and telling him it was okay, Naruto rushed into the office, but not before the secretary told him how cute she thought he was and her giving him a few sweets to have later. Hey Gigi. Naruto yelled as he jumped in front of the Hokage's desk, you'll never guess where I was ranked on the first-year students list. Naruto was practically bouncing where he stood from excitement. Oh, and where was that, Naruto? The Hokage asked kindly, even though he had received said rankings the day before. I'm in the top of the middle tier of students. Naruto shouted as he grinned broadly. My, Naruto. Said the Hokage fondly, that's quite an achievement. Naruto, if possible, smiled even brighter at the praise. Just you wait, Gigi. Naruto laughed, soon enough I'll be at the top of the whole school, and then I'll be a ninja just like you. Sarutobi chuckled at his surrogate grandson's energetic proclamation. I have no doubt that you will be someday, Naruto. But how about we celebrate with some ramen now? He asked the young blonde, who nodded happily as he led the Hokage out of his office and towards Ichiraku Ramen. Time skip end of the first year. Uzumaki, Naruto repeated to himself as his eyes scrolled down the first-year students' final ranking list on the bulletin board. Aha. Here it is. He exclaimed as he found his name. Awesome. I'm in the middle of the upper tier. He thought proudly as he saw his name directly below someone named Aburam Shino. Naruto made his way to Ichiraku with a grin on his face for his accomplishment. After gorging himself with as much ramen as he could eat, he went home to his apartment to get some rest. On his way home, he began to think about what Iruka had told them of the various fields of the ninja force. Iruka had explained that each field usually had an expertise in a given art of the ninja profession and that they should all begin thinking about what kind of ninja they wanted to be when they graduated. Well, obviously I want to be the best ninja ever. Thought Naruto as he recalled that particular lecture. In his now 7-year-old mind, that was all there was to being a ninja. Though I have to admit, what the textbooks say about poisons is really cool. Naruto mused, I mean, come on, you could barely touch a bad guy with some of those poisons and he'd drop to the ground unconscious or worse in less than a minute. These kinds of thoughts spurred Naruto's imagination and filled his dreams that night with him using his awesome ninja poisons to defeat bad guys and rescue princesses and daimyos. Time skip the next day. On Naruto's first day of summer break, he immediately set off for the library in hopes of finding out more about his newly chosen weapon of choice, poisons. When he asked a Chunin that watched over the shinobi part of the library about any books on the subject, he got a strange look before the Chunin pointed him to a small section that contained the information Naruto sought. After checking out a few of the books, he immediately set off for home to begin learning all he could about the subject that had caught his fascination. Oh wow. Naruto exclaimed. He had just finished the first chapter of the first book and already he was completely awestruck by the power poisons could contain. I can't believe more ninja don't use poisons. Naruto said with a sigh, you can do so much with them, from capture to interrogation to outright killing. Naruto was so enamored with the versatility of poisons that he resolved to learn all he could, and by the end of summer break, he would beg Gigi to teach him at least one of the, admittedly few, poison jutsu the book had mentioned. Time skip end of summer break. After 2 months worth of intense studying, Naruto had finished all of the library's books on poisons and had learned how to use the non-lethal ones the books gave instructions on creating. Naruto was rather surprised that his outside hobby for gardening could be used to grow various types of plants that, when mixed correctly, produced mild poisons that could cause anything from mild aches to near total paralysis. The hardest thing he had done was getting the Hokage to teach him one of the poison jutsu the books had listed. But after explaining to Naruto that the jutsu wasn't to be used unless supervised or as a last resort, the Hokage had caved and taught Naruto the Dakijiri no Jutsu. 1. Naruto now used the belt pouches the Sandaime had given him to carry various poisons and antidotes, as well as a new weapon the books had stated did well with poisons, Senbon. Now Naruto was making his way to the first day of his second year at the academy. He noticed the glares the villagers still sent his way but ignored them. One day they'll respect me. Naruto thought. When I'm Hokage, they'll show me the respect they showed Gigi. After getting situated in his seat at the academy and after roll had been called, Iruka took them all outside, with Mizuki following behind the students. "Alright class," Iruka said in his teacher voice, "since it's the first day back we would like to see what all the students have trained in and learned since we last saw you." Once most of the class had shown Iruka and Mizuki what they had done over their summer break, Naruto was called up to show what he had done over the summer. "Actually, Iruka-sensei, if you could, can you get everyone to step back a bit?" Naruto asked. Iruka raised an eyebrow at Naruto's request but did as asked and had all the students move back. "Perfect, now I can show everybody my new jutsu," Naruto thought happily. "Alright everybody, watch this," Naruto exclaimed before starting a few hand seals and inhaling deeply. "Dakujiri no jutsu," Naruto half-shouted as he exhaled a large cloud of thick purple mist at a group of training dummies. After the mist had cleared, everyone saw the result of Naruto's jutsu. The training dummies that had stood there before were made of a light brown wood. After Naruto's jutsu, however, all three of them were a light purple color where the poisonous mist had stuck to the surface of the dummies. Naruto, Iruka called stunned. "Do you realize that you just performed a B-rank ninjutsu technique?" he asked the now grinning blonde. "Of course, Iruka-sensei." Naruto laughed, "It was the only one I could get down over the summer." After getting over his shock, Iruka told everyone to return to class while he washed the poison on the dummies away so that they could be used again without poisoning anyone. On the way back to class, all of the students were talking about Naruto's new technique. A boy Naruto knew as Inyazuka Kiba actually congratulated Naruto on knowing about his jutsu before they were all ushered into their seats. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Naruto, a certain shy Hyuga girl in the back row was blushing and looking admirably at him as she poked her fingers together and mumbled out a Naruto-kun before turning her attention to Iruka, who had just walked back into the classroom to start their lessons for the day. Time skip end of second year. After Naruto's impressive display on the first day, many of the students and teachers had started regarding the boy as a student with amazing potential. Iruka was incredibly proud that several of his students were being regarded as the best the academy had to offer. After dismissing the students for the last time this year, Iruka pondered on how much they would all have improved come the beginning of next year. Naruto, however, was completely oblivious to this as he was going over various poisons and the processes used to create them in his head. The now 8-year-old boy was unknowingly becoming the most knowledgeable non-ninja poison user in all of Hai no Kuni. As it was though, Naruto had just gotten to his apartment and quickly went to his small garden in his spare room. "Alright, now what do I need for Tsurukusa 2 poison?" Naruto asked himself as he checked his book for the ingredients while browsing through his small garden. Time skipped several weeks later. Uzumaki Naruto was seen running in a full sprint towards the Hokage Tower on a normal enough summer afternoon. To anyone that knew the boy, which was a very small number of people, you could tell that he was both excited about something and incredibly confused. Upon reaching the tower, the Anbu stopped the boy at the door to ask him what was wrong. "Why are you in such a hurry, Uzumaki-san?" the Anbu on the right with the monkey mask asked. "I've got to show Gigi something," Naruto practically yelled as he continued bouncing in front of the two Anbu. "What is it you need to show Hokage-sama, Uzumaki-san? Did something happen?" questioned the other Anbu, this one with a bird mask. "Yes," Naruto shouted, "something did happen. Look at this." But that the boy focused his chakra into his hands, and to both Anbu members' surprise, a dark purple and green colored mist-like chakra began to seep from the boy's hands. "Tori, can you handle things here while I escort Uzumaki-san to Hokage-sama?" the monkey-masked Anbu asked his partner. "I'll take care of it, Seru. Get Uzumaki-san to Hokage-sama," the bird-masked Anbu replied. After being led to the Hokage's office and being let in, the monkey-masked Anbu returned to his post while Naruto showed his new discovery to his Jiji. Once Naruto had shown what he could do, only one word escaped Sarutobi's mouth in shock. "Dekushu 3, he breathed out. "What?" Naruto asked the Hokage in confusion. "Naruto, my boy. What you've done was thought to be impossible nowadays. The last user of the Dekushu bloodline died almost 50 years ago." The Hokage answered as he continued to stare at Naruto's chakra-covered hands. "Hey, Jiji, does this mean I have a Kekkei Genkai thing, like the ones Iruka-sensei taught us about?" Naruto questioned as he let the chakra in his hands disperse. "Yes, Naruto, you do. Your Kekkei Genkai was thought to be extinct for decades now. To see you come back after all these years is truly remarkable," the Hokage said as he stood up to get a scroll off one of the shelves in his office. After finding the one he was looking for, the old Hokage returned to his desk and unrolled the scroll for Naruto to see. "Now, Naruto, your bloodline limit is called Dekushu. It allows the one who carries it to not only become immune to poisons of all types, but to also turn their very chakra and even their own body into poison," Sarutobi explained as Naruto looked at the scroll that documented his newly discovered bloodline. "You mean I can turn into a poison mist or a puddle of liquid poison?" Naruto asked as he looked up in confusion. Not quite Naruto, you see a Dekushu user's body can constantly produce various poisons from the pores of their skin when they apply chakra to their body. Anyone who comes into physical contact with said user will be poisoned on contact. With training, the Dekushu user can control what kind of poison their body releases at any given time in battle. The Hokage explained as he handed the scroll to Naruto. Inside that scroll is a list of the known Dekushu techniques. They are rightfully yours now as you are the only known carrier of the bloodline. The Hokage said as he looked at the boy's shocked face. Gigi, Naruto questioned, does this mean I can find out who my family was? The old Hokage sighed before speaking again. I'm afraid not, my boy. The last Dekushu user died in the first attack on Yuzu no Kuni by Iwa and Kumo in the start of the Third Ninja War. That was almost 50 years ago now. All I can say is that you must be his descendant from either your mother or father. As Naruto left the tower and headed to his apartment for the night, he had only a single thought running through his head. I will master my new bloodline. He thought. I'll make all of my ancestors proud that I'm carrying on their Kekkei Genkai. He mentally shouted as he headed off to bed. Time skip academy graduation. Uzumaki Naruto was sitting in his usual seat in class as he waited to take the genin exam. Since the discovery of his bloodline, he had worked even harder in the academy and had climbed all the way up into the top 10 students of his year. The teachers called him a gifted hard-working student and told other students to try and emulate his school behavior. Only a few students didn't look up to Naruto as an example of a good future shinobi. One such person was Uchiha Sasuke. After his brother Itachi had committed the genocide of the Uchiha clan, he had become antisocial and looked down on others as weak and as dead weight in his goal to become stronger and take revenge on his brother. This however didn't affect any of Sasuke's numerous fangirls from fawning all over him constantly. Two of the worst about it were Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. Naruto had long since realized that both had the potential to be good kunoichi if they'd stop hanging all over Sasuke and actually trained. But it wasn't his problem. If they wanted to waste time begging Sasuke for dates, let them. He wouldn't be surprised when they came back traumatized from a mission. Uzumaki Naruto. Haruka called out as he held the door to the testing room open. Well, time to pass. Naruto mumbled as he made his way down the stairs. As he passed Sasuke, he heard the boy whisper, try not to fail, dope. Naruto knew Sasuke felt threatened by Naruto's ranking in the class being so close to his own and that Sasuke took every chance he could to belittle Naruto for it. Careful Uchiha, Naruto whispered back, it'd be a shame if had to send you to the hospital for massive poison damage to your organs. But that said, Naruto walked into the next room to begin his test while Sasuke brooded in his seat at Naruto's remark. Alright, Naruto, we'll need you to perform the Henge no Jutsu 4, the Kawarami no Jutsu 5, and the Bunshin no Jutsu 6 in order to pass and graduate this year. Haruka said kindly as he got ready to mark Naruto's scores. No problem, Haruka-sensei, replied Naruto as he quickly substituted himself with one of the empty chairs in the room. Very good, Naruto. Haruka praised as he gave Naruto a passing grade on the jutsu. Shortly after, Naruto transformed into the Sandai, much to said old man's enjoyment as he watched the boys test through his viewing orb. Perfect, Naruto. Haruka remarked as he marked another passing grade on the boys' test. Naruto then did 7 hand seals and shouted, Doku Bunshin no Jutsu 7. In a puff of white smoke there stood 11 Narutos including the original. Very, very good, Naruto. I take it these are some of your bloodline clones, right? Haruka asked as he observed the movements of the clones. Got it in one, sensei. Naruto replied as he dismissed his clones, causing them to disperse into thick clouds of purple ninja smoke. Congratulations, Naruto, you more than qualify to graduate. Haruka said as he tossed Naruto a black-clothed headband with the standard metal plate with the Konoha insignia on it. Thank you very much, Haruka-sensei. Naruto replied as he caught the headband and tied it securely to his forehead. Walking back into the room wearing his new headband, Naruto smirked at Sasuke's brooding face before going back to his seat. Awesome, Naruto, Kiba said as he slapped Naruto on the back. You passed. Naruto smiled back at Kiba before replying, was there any doubt? In the back sat Hyuga Hinata, and as she stared at Naruto with a heavy blush on her face she thought, I'm so happy Naruto-kun passed. Meanwhile, Naruto was looking forward to Haruka, who had just re-entered the classroom. Congratulations to all of you who passed the exams. Haruka said as he looked at all the students. Now you will all need to report back here tomorrow for team placements. Haruka called out to the class before dismissing them for the day. After the last student had left, Haruka used Shunshin no Jutsu to get to the Hokage's office so he could deliver the list of students who passed to the Sandai, so that the Hokage could group them into 3-man teams. After leaving the academy for the day and heading home to check on his little garden of plants, Naruto was just staring out of his window, thinking about whose team he could be placed on tomorrow. As long as I'm not with that arrogant bastard Sasuke, I guess I could learn to work with just about anyone. Naruto mused as he continued staring out of his window. Suddenly Naruto noticed a suspicious figure jumping from roof to roof with a large scroll strapped to their back. Well, that doesn't seem normal. Naruto thought before grabbing his gear and trying to stealthily follow the figure. After several minutes the figure dropped down into a clearing in the woods. Naruto carefully looked on from behind a tree as the figure removes their mask revealing themselves as Mizuki. Now that I've got the forbidden scroll I can finally leave this village and gain my reward from Orochimaru-sama. He said as he adjusted the scroll on his back while preparing to leap back into the trees. So that is his plan, huh? Well, if he thinks he can get away with betraying the village and trying to steal jutsu, he has another thing coming. Naruto thought as he threw 5 senbon coated with a numbing poison that would rob a limb of all movement within 2 minutes. Mizuki sensing the weapons coming rolled to the side, avoiding 4 of the 5 senbon. The last one however was embedded about an inch into his left arm just below the shoulder. Damn it. Mizuki cursed as he pulled the senbon out of his shoulder. Who the hell did that? Show yourself damn it. He yelled into the surrounding forest. Shinobi Lesson 1. Said a hidden voice in the trees. Never reveal your presence if you don't have to. Suddenly Mizuki had to dodge another salvo of senbon. Mizuki quickly guessed where the weapons had come from and jumped into Naruto's hiding spot and knocked the boy out of the tree and to the ground below. Well if it isn't the demon brat. He said with a sneer. Ow, damn that hurt. Naruto said as he looked up at Mizuki. Why are you calling me that anyway? Naruto asked as he prepared for Mizuki's next move. Oh, that's right, no one is allowed to tell you are they? Mizuki said as he looked down at the boy. Tell me what? Naruto asked as he wondered what Mizuki was talking about. That you're the Kyuubi no Yako. Mizuki yelled at him with his face twisted by rage. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto questioned as he listened to what the traitor had to say. The Yondaime couldn't kill the Kyuubi the night it attacked the village. So he did the next best thing, he sealed it away into a child. That child was you Naruto. You are the Kyuubi reborn. Mizuki yelled as he charged towards the boy intent on punching the boy in the face for the senbon he had been hit with earlier. Naruto was shocked, he had the Kyuubi inside him. Was it true? Why hadn't he been told? Was he really a demon like some of the villagers had claimed? Before he could think any more Mizuki's fist impacted his left cheek and he was sent sprawling to the forest floor. How was that demon boy? Mizuki asked as he smiled maliciously at the boy lying on the ground. I'd say that was the second mistake you've made in this fight Mizuki. Naruto replied as he picked himself up off the ground. What are you babbling about demon? Mizuki questioned as he looked at the now standing form of Naruto. Your first mistake was getting hit by my senbon. Naruto explained as he looked into Mizuki's eyes. You can't even feel your left arm anymore can you? He asked. To Mizuki's shocked horror he found that he couldn't move his left arm at all. What did you do to me you monster? He yelled at the now grinning Naruto. Oh just a dose of a certain poison that I coated my senbon with. He said as he stood there with a grin on his face. Your second mistake was punching me. Naruto lectured as he pointed to Mizuki's right fist. Mizuki looked to his own hand and saw it was covered in a thin layer of a sticky green liquid. What is this stuff you demon brat? Mizuki yelled at Naruto who was now slowly waking towards him. Oh that. Naruto replied innocently, that's a highly potent neurotoxin that seeps through the skin and sets off all the pain-receptive nerves it encounters. He explained nonchalantly as he took another couple of steps forward. In fact it should start working, right about now. Naruto said only to be interrupted as Mizuki began screaming himself hoarse. You bastard, you demon brat, Mizuki tried to speak but couldn't stop the pain that was now spreading up his right arm. Your third and final mistake, Mizuki, was underestimating me. Naruto yelled as he slammed his right hand with all 5 fingers in a claw position into Mizuki's chest, hard enough to actually bury the tips of his fingers in Mizuki's skin. As Mizuki laid on the ground trying to cough and scream at the same time Naruto stood over him and told him one last thing, before you go into shock and pass out, you traitorous piece of shit, let me tell you one more little tidbit of information. I can turn my own chakra into a poison. With that poison I can attack or even destroy my opponent's chakra circulatory system. Unfortunately for you I think Gigi's interrogators will want to have a few words with you about your actions here tonight. So I just crippled your chakra network with my poison. After tonight you'll never again be able to mold chakra, your life as a ninja is now over Mizuki. Reflect on your mistakes and pray for a swift end. But those last words, Mizuki succumbed to shock and passed out on the forest floor. Moments later 4 Anbu and the Hokage landed in the clearing and surrounded Mizuki. We saw everything Naruto. The Hokage stated as Naruto knelt before him. You did well to prevent Mizuki from taking the forbidden scroll. My Anbu will take him to the interrogation headquarters where they'll extract the information from him that we need. After he said that the 4 Anbu, carefully avoiding Mizuki's poison-coated right hand, took the traitor away in a swirl of leaves. Now, Naruto go home and get some rest I'll explain everything to you tomorrow morning before you go to the academy to meet your team. the Hokage said before he too disappeared in a swirl of leaves. I'll be sure to do that, Hokage-sama, Naruto said before heading home for a good night's sleep. End Chapter 1. Chapter 2 Explanations and Specialized Teams. Naruto awoke the next day 2 hours before he had to be at the academy for team placements. After taking his morning shower and eating a breakfast of eggs and toast, Naruto brushed his teeth before leaving his apartment and heading for the Hokage Tower. Time for Gigi to explain what Mizuki was yelling about last night. He muttered as he arrived in front of the tower. After being led into the tower and making his way up to the Hokage's office, Naruto greeted the secretary with a small tired smile. She smiled back at him warmly before allowing him into the office. "Ah, Naruto, good to see you my boy," Sarutobi said as he looked at the young genin that was now sitting before him. "He looks like he hasn't slept well since last night," Sarutobi thought as he studied Naruto's tired face from across his desk. "What would you like to ask first, Naruto?" Sarutobi asked as he filled his pipe with tobacco and lit it with a small application of fire nature chakra. "What I want to know the most, Gigi, is what Mizuki said true. Am I really the Kyuubi? Were the villagers right about me being a demon?" Naruto asked evenly as he sighed out tiredly. "Of course not, Naruto, the Kyuubi was sealed inside of you, not the other way around. Just as a prisoner is not the prison he sits in, the Kyuubi is not you who he is sealed in," the Hokage explained as he exhaled smoke from his mouth. Naruto visibly relaxed as he slumped down in the chair he was seated in. "Thank goodness." He sighed as he smiled at the Hokage with his tired features. "Don't let what he said bother you, Naruto. You are the hero that keeps the Kyuubi at bay, without you we would all have been destroyed that night 12 years ago." Sarutobi spoke kindly as he smiled at the boy he viewed as a grandson. "Thanks, Gigi, I needed to hear that from someone I could trust." Naruto sighed as he stood up from his chair. "Well, I need to be heading to the academy now, with your permission Hokage Gigi?" he asked with a bow. "Dismissed my boy, no need to be so formal." Sarutobi replied with a chuckle as Naruto walked out of his office. "Oh, and if you've put me with Sasuke team or that shrieking fangirl bitch Sakura, I'll have to come back here and have some words with you Gigi," Naruto said as he stuck his head back into Sarutobi's office before closing the door and heading to the academy. "Oh, don't worry Naruto, I'm sure you'll enjoy the team I've set up for you," the Hokage thought with a smile as he returned to his work. Meanwhile, Naruto was just arriving at the academy when he suddenly sneezed. "Someone must be talking about me," he mumbled as he entered his classroom. Once he entered the classroom, Naruto's ears were assaulted by the sounds of all the students waiting to receive their teams and begin their ninja careers. Sheesh, for future ninja you'd think they'd know when to be quiet, he thought irritably as he took a seat that was still available. Shortly after he sat down, the one person Naruto never wanted to sit beside took the seat next to him. "Why are you sitting beside me Sasuke?" Naruto questioned the Uchiha boy while glancing at him. "Shut up dope, it's the last seat available that isn't being swarmed by those loser kunoichi who flock to my Uchiha superiority," Sasuke replied as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "What a pompous dumbus," Naruto thought as he rolled his eyes at Sasuke's statement. Suddenly everyone in the class heard what sounded like 2 elephants charging through the academy hallways. "And here comes the terrible twosome," he thought as he looked towards the door to see both Ino and Sakura trying to shove their way through the door to the classroom. Once both had made it into the room, they stood there panting before they began shouting at each other. "I won forehead," Ino yelled at Sakura, who responded with, "No way Ino pig, my foot crossed the door first." Shortly after, they both noticed the object of their affections was already seated and both rushed to greet him. "Good morning, Sasuke-kun," they both chorused as they smiled at the raven-haired boy. "HN," was the only reply they got from said boy as he didn't even turn to look at them. "Naruto baka," screeched Sakura, "move out of that seat so I can sit next to Sasuke-kun." Naruto simply looked at her with a bored expression before replying. "What are you gonna do about tea if I don't, Haruno?" He questioned her before his gaze turned steely and he began to stare the girl down. "The Lily'll beat you out of it," she stuttered out as she raised her shaking fist. "Oh really?" Naruto replied with a raised eyebrow. "Why don't you try it then, try it and see where you end up." Sakura hesitated for a second before sending her fist at Naruto's head. Before she knew what was happening, Sakura found herself slammed onto the floor and staring up at the ceiling. Naruto hadn't even moved from his chair and was currently holding Sakura by the wrist of the arm she tried to hit him with. "Now what did you learn?" Naruto questioned her in a bored tone. Ino stood there stunned. Naruto had just put Sakura on the ground with one hand. While sitting down, she quickly rushed towards the back rows and took a seat next to Shikamaru, who was currently dozing. "I'm waiting, Haruno," Naruto spoke again as he increased the pressure on Sakura's wrist. "I'm sorry," she shouted as the pain was too much for her. "Not quite what I was expecting you to learn, but it'll do for now," Naruto replied as he let go of her wrist and pulled her to her feet. "Next time try being polite when you want something." Sakura nodded as she quickly went to sit next to Ino in the back of the room. When did the dope get this strong? Sasuke wondered as he watched Naruto deal with Sakura. I should have that strength. I need it more than he does. I'm an Avenger, damn it. Before Sasuke could question Naruto, Haruka walked into the room with a clipboard in hand and told the class to settle down. Now I'll read off your team assignments. Wait for your name to be called and listen for your team number. Haruka stated as he started going through the list. After waiting about 10 minutes, the first notable name caught Naruto's attention. Team 7 will be Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Sai. Haruka announced, much to the dismay of Sasuke's fan club. Except Sakura, who screeched loudly about how true love conquers all. Your sensei will be Hada Kakashi. Haruka finished as he read off the next team. Team 8 will be Aburame Shino, Inyazuka Kiba, and Hyuga Hinata. Haruka said as he flipped the page to the next team. I'm not on Naruto's team. Hinata thought sadly as she looked forlornly at the boy she had a crush on. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Chouji, and Nara Shikamaru. Haruka read off as he flipped to the last page of his clipboard. Your sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. Lastly, Haruka called out, Uzumaki Naruto, you've been taken as an apprentice by Mitarashi Anko. Well now, this just got interesting. Naruto thought with a wide grin on his face. What? Sasuke yelled as he stood up so fast his chair toppled over. Why does the dope get an apprenticeship when I and Uchiha am stuck on a dead weight team? He yelled as he glared at Naruto. Abruptly a large black cloth ball smashed through the room's windows before unfurling with a kunai stuck in each corner, pinning it to the floor and wall. In front of the newly revealed banner was a purple-haired woman that was wearing a fishnet bodysuit that ended at her thighs, an orange miniskirt, a long tan trench coat with shin guards over her legs. Behind her the banner read, The Great Mitarashi Anko-sama arrives. In bright red kanji. Which one of you brats is Uzumaki Naruto? Anko questioned as she looked around the room. Anko, you're early again. Haruka said as he scratched the back of his head nervously. Well, regardless. Which one of you is Naruto? She asked as she scanned the room again. That would be me, Mitarashi-san. Naruto spoke as he raised his hand. So you're my new apprentice, eh brat? She asked as they locked eyes. I guess so. He replied with a smile. I demand to know why you're taking the dope as an apprentice and not me. Sasuke shouted at Anko, breaking her from her staring match against Naruto. Because I only train the strongest of the strong. Anko replied dismissively. And, in all honesty, you just don't cut it, Uchiha. You wouldn't be able to survive my training. Naruto laughed out loud from beside Sasuke, while Sasuke himself clenched his fists tightly. Let's go, brat. Anko yelled as she jumped back out of the window and started towards the training grounds. Yes, sensei. Naruto replied before jumping over his desk and out the window in 2 leaps. Damn him. Sasuke mentally shouted as he brooded about Naruto getting what he and Uchiha should have received. Naruto caught up with his new sensei before she even got outside the academy grounds. Where to, sensei? He asked as they began roof hopping away from the academy. Straight to training ground 44, of course. Anko replied with a devious smirk on her face as she picked up the pace to challenge Naruto's speed. Straight to the forest of death, huh? Naruto thought with a grin. I think I'm in love already. He mumbled playfully. Anko, however, had heard him and with a smirk she remarked, we'll see how long you're in love with me after training. Naruto bowed his head with a blush burning his cheeks as Anko laughed loudly. Once they had arrived at the training ground, Anko turned around and told Naruto their unique situation. Alright brat, since the council wants you to advance through the ranks and get strong enough to claim clan status as soon as possible. Hokage-sama has asked me to take you on as my apprentice. She explained as Naruto stood before her and gave her respectful attention. So that's what this is all about. Naruto thought as he remembered the one particular meeting he had with the full council of Konoha. Flashback 1 week after Naruto discovered his bloodline. Naruto had been called by the Hokage to attend a meeting with the council to explain his new situation in the village, as well as in the ninja forces. As Naruto was led into the council chambers by the Hokage, he was told to stand in the center of the room and wait to be spoken to. This meeting of the council of Konoha is now in session. Sarutobi said as he called the meeting to order. What has this meeting been called for, Hokage-sama? The Sandame's old teammate Midokado Himura asked as he turned towards his leader. I've called this meeting to announce that a Kekkei Genkai, one that was thought to be extinct for decades now, has reappeared in our very own village. Sarutobi replied as he looked straight ahead at Naruto. You mean this boy has the Hokage's other teammate Udatain Kaharu tried to say as every one of the council members' faces were frozen in shock. Yes, that's correct. Uzumaki Naruto has awakened a Kekkei Genkai that hasn't been seen in almost 50 years. Sarutobi explained as the council chambers erupted in noise and exclamations of demands. Silence. He yelled out as the council chambers instantly quieted. If I may ask, Hokage-sama. Danzo said from his seat. What Kekkei Genkai has reawakened in this boy? Sarutobi knew Danzo was already plotting ways to get Naruto under his control, but he answered nonetheless. Naruto here has reawakened the Dekushu bloodline, a bloodline that hasn't been seen since the start of the Third Great Ninja War. This started the councils arguing almost instantly, shouts about betrothals, breeding, and demands for him to be trained as an obedient weapon were heard throughout the room. "I said silence," shouted Sarutobi as he slammed a fist on top of his desk. The council quickly became quiet at the killing intent the old Hokage was releasing. Naruto is under shinobi jurisdiction. Therefore the civilian representatives on the council have no say in any matters pertaining to the boy. With that said, the civilians quickly became silent. "Hokage-sama, might I take the boy and train him in the ninja arts? I can guarantee the boy will be the most powerful shinobi in our ranks within a few short years," Danzo stated calmly as he eyed the boy like a high-quality tool. "I have no intention of taking Naruto out of academy for any reason until he graduates, am I clear, Danzo?" Sarutobi asked as he leveled the full brunt of his killing intent on the old warhawk. "Hokage-sama, if I may, could I set up a marriage contract with the boy to my daughter?" asked one of the civilians with a greedy gleam in his eyes. "No way in hell, you civilian asshole," Naruto thought as he glared at the man. "Well, it is true that Naruto does qualify for the Bloodline clan restoration laws," Sarutobi stated. "He will be allowed to choose the woman or women he settles down with to start his family in the future." Naruto smirked at the civilians as they all gained sour looks on their faces. "Then Uzumaki-san must be allowed to claim clan head status as soon as possible," Kaharu proclaimed as she looked at the other shinobi clan heads. "Unfortunately for Uzumaki-san, he must have a bloodline along with a rank of Chunin or higher. Not to mention at least one heir or a woman carrying his child to start the clan he will be head of," stated Hyuga Hiashi as he read a copy of Konoha's clan laws from a scroll in front of him. "I'm sure Naruto will make Chunin shortly after he graduates the academy. However, how long until he has an heir is up to him," Sarutobi remarked as he motioned Naruto to speak. "I'll make Chunin as soon as I can after graduation, Hokage-sama." Naruto spoke, "However, I'd like to be at least 13 or 14 before I even consider having a child. I'm only 8, I can't be a dad yet," he said as he gained the cute confused expression of a child his age. Then flashback, after that day Naruto had worked harder than ever towards mastering his bloodline. By the time graduation had rolled around, Naruto had gotten his bloodline to the point of near mastery. He could instinctively activate his Dekusuken, at any moment that he sensed a hostile motion towards himself. Not to mention that he could control what type of poison he produced at the same moment. He had also pushed the boundaries of his bloodline into several new techniques that he had created from theories inside the scroll the Sandaime had given him the day he discovered his Kekkei Genkai. "Alright, brat," Anko called to her new apprentice. "I need to test you to see where you stand in the ninja arts." Naruto smiled at her before replying. "Alright, and how do you plan to test me, sensei?" Anko smirked evilly, "The best way, of course. By sparring until you drop." With that, she charged at Naruto with a kunai in each hand. Naruto smirked at her before meeting her charge with 2 kunai of his own. Anko made the first swipe with her left kunai before stabbing with her right. Naruto dodged a left swipe and blocked the stab with his own kunai before bringing his own down on Anko's head. She quickly kicked him away and threw both of her kunai at him as she jumped back before launching 4 snakes from her right sleeve. Naruto knocked both kunai away and jumped away from the snakes. To his surprise, the 4 snakes changed course and followed him towards the other side of the clearing. "That's surprising," Naruto thought before using both kunai to decapitate all 4 snakes, causing them to disappear in poofs of smoke. "Brat's not bad," Anko mused before speeding through hand seals and sending a Kaiten Gakakyu, 2, at Naruto's location. He looked at the incoming fireball before smirking. "Doesn't hold back at all, I like that," he thought before speeding through his own hand seals. "Suit and Tepidama." 3, Naruto exclaimed before sending a ball of water of equal size towards the fireball. The 2 opposing attacks slammed into each other in a large splash of water and steam. "So you know how to use more than your bloodline, huh, brat?" Anko questioned as she put a little distance between herself and the dispersing cloud of steam. "Of course, sensei. I'm not so arrogant as to think that my bloodline is invincible like most other bloodline clans," Naruto replied before taking up a taijutsu stance and waiting for Anko's next move. "I'm starting to like you already, brat," Anko yelled as she disappeared from Naruto's line of sight for an instant before reappearing behind him with a back fist aimed at his left temple. To her shock, Naruto's forearm blocked her attack while his right elbow came around as he spun and nicked her side before she managed to jump away. "You're good, brat, I'll give you that. But how about you show me what you can really do?" Anko questioned with a smirk. "Alright, sensei, but remember, you asked for it." With that, Naruto shed his burnt orange overshirt, leaving him in just his mesh undershirt and ninja pants. He took a deep breath and when he exhaled, a dark purple mist came from his mouth. Before long a dark greenish-purple chakra coated his exposed arms, back and chest with a purple and green mist rising off said areas and lingering around the boy. Impressive. Anko thought as she watched his display. This makes Taijutsu all but suicidal. With that thought Anko sped through another set of hand seals before sending a Suiton Misurappa 4 at the boy to test his bloodline's defensive capabilities. Naruto quickly sidestepped the high-pressured blast of water before making a punching motion towards Anko on the other side of the clearing. Anko was slightly surprised when a column of greenish smoke came flying at her at the same speed as a punch. She quickly jumped up to the tree branch above herself before looking down at the area she stood in previously. The ground where she once stood was covered in dead grass, and the air around it was filled with the lingering remains of the poisonous smoke the blonde had sent at her. "You like it, sensei?" Naruto questioned from his position in the clearing. "I call it a Kukumuri no Jutsu." 5. Naruto explained as he prepared another punch. "It lets me launch poison attacks at my opponent from a distance." Anko quickly masked her shock before replying, "Not bad, brat. Try this on for size." With that remark she again disappeared from his sight. Next thing he realized, several kunai and shuriken were heading at him from various directions. Naruto quickly dodged the projectiles before he spun around and launched another punch at Anko, who was rushing up behind him with a kunai out to stab him from behind. The same green smoke launched from his fist and impacted the woman, sending her tumbling back into the ground. To Naruto's slight surprise, the Anko he hit dissolved into mud while another Anko appeared on top of a tree branch several feet to his right. "Tsuchi Bunshin 6, huh?" Naruto questioned as he looked at her. Anko said nothing as several more Anko clones emerged from the surrounding woods. "So using clones that can't be poisoned to counteract my bloodline. While it makes Taijutsu a possible attack method, the clones will disperse shortly after striking me," Naruto said as he quickly jumped higher and higher into the trees. "Then again, for only a little more chakra than you used to make all those clones, I can do this," he exclaimed as he finished a string of hand seals. "Miasma no Jutsu." 7. He yelled as he spewed a thick purple, almost black, cloud of poison from his mouth. The jutsu fell almost like water as it was released down into the clearing below. All of the clones were swept away by the jutsu's amazing density, and when it hit the ground, the entire clearing floor was covered in a thick poisonous cloud that was several feet high. Naruto scanned the treetops as he looked for his sensei. He knew she was far too crafty to have been taken down by that attack. Now all he had to do was wait for the counter-attack. He didn't have to wait long before a cry of Futon to Toppa 8 sent him face first into the tree in front of him. "How do you like that, brat?" Anko questioned before she threw several pairs of kunai with a length of ninja wire connecting each pair all around Naruto, effectively pinning him to the tree. "Not bad at all, sensei." Naruto mumbled with his face still in the tree. "But I've still got a jutsu for situations when I can't move to defend myself," he mumbled out before bringing his hands together between him and the tree and going through several hand seals. "Yudoku Yauko no Jutsu 9. Naruto yelled as he completed the jutsu. Suddenly the purple and green mist that surrounded Naruto compressed into 5 separate clouds of poison. Each cloud then took on a distinctly vulpine form before opening bright green eyes. All 5 dark purple poison cloud foxes locked their glowing green eyes on Anko before rushing her all at once. "What the hell?" Anko yelled and asked at the same time as she had to duck and weave to avoid these strange poison creatures that Naruto had created. One of the foxes dove down from above Anko as she jumped to avoid another that tried to take a bite out of her side. She saw it coming and sidestepped the fox and watched it fall into the miasma that was still coating the forest floor below. Before she could wonder if that had taken it out, 2 other foxes tried to catch her in a pincer maneuver. She jumped over both of them before grabbing the branch above herself and swinging up onto it. "Damn," she thought with a grimace. "These things are fast and agile as hell. Not to mention I can't touch them without getting poisoned." Anko quickly moved to avoid a fox trying to get the jump on her and landed several feet behind where she had just stood. "Alright," she thought excitedly as she saw all 4 foxes directly in front of her. "Now I'll just torch all the bastards and be done with them." She quickly started hand seals for a Kaiten jutsu before she felt a searing pain in her right leg. "Shit. That fucking hurts." Anko yelled as she looked down to find the fox that had fallen into the miasma biting into her leg. "Damn it," she thought as she kicked the fox back towards its companions. "I should have known poison wouldn't destroy these things. They're made of poison." When the one she kicked landed in front of its compatriots, the other 4 that were moving to attack stopped in their tracks. "Kaiten Karyu Enden 10. Anko shouted as she unleashed a massive fire dragon at the foxes who, taken by surprise, were instantly torched and incinerated by the flames. "Take that, you bastards." She panted out as she felt the poison beginning to take effect. "My vision's getting blurry," she thought as she felt her strength leaving her. She jumped to the branch Naruto was pinned on and held a kunai to his throat. "I win, you little brat." Anko panted as she cut the wires holding him while she collapsed to the branch they were standing on. Don't worry Anko-sensei, I'll remove the toxins from you. You'll be awake and feeling better in a couple minutes. Naruto stated as he began drawing the poison out of her body with a green and purple chakra-covered hand. After having removed the toxins from Anko's body, Naruto couldn't help but stare at her sleeping form. Man, being on missions with her is gonna be awkward with how she dresses. He thought with a blush as he couldn't keep his eyes from roaming her body at least once. Still, I don't think I could ask for a better sensei. Hopefully when she wakes up I'll know where she plans to start my training. He thought as he kept watch over her as she rested from their intense spar. Several minutes later Anko groaned before opening her eyes. What the hell happened? She asked before mumbling, oh right, I got bitten by one of the brat's foxes. Looking up she saw the smiling face of said brat before he spoke. Did you sleep well, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked as he helped her sit up. I'll be fine brat. I have to say you've got some rather impressive skills for a genin. She commented before standing up and popping her back. So what level do you rank me at sensei? He questioned with a curious look on his face. You're a solid Chunin level ninja already, brat. She replied. Give me until tomorrow and I'll have your rank in all of the aspects you've shown me in this fight. Naruto smiled widely at her assessment before standing up himself. Well, where to now sensei? Naruto asked. Let's head into the village to celebrate your graduation to genin. Anko replied as she started tree hopping to get out of the forest of death and into the village proper. Naruto nodded before following along behind her. After they had reached the restaurant area of the business district, they had immediately gotten into an argument about what to have to celebrate. We're having dango you brat and that's final. Anko yelled as she stomped her foot on the ground. Oh come on sensei. Why can't we have ramen? I always have ramen when I celebrate something. Naruto said as he tried to give her puppy dog eyes. Sorry brat, that look only works for us women. Anko said as she smirked at him. Alright, I can be a gentleman when I need to be. Naruto sighed before he straightened up and offered Anko his arm. Care to lead the way sensei? He asked politely. Anko snorted before taking the offered arm and leading him to her favorite dango place. Just don't try and get fresh brat. You wouldn't like what happens if you did. She warned as she brought him into the shop. One order of dango for me and the brat old man. Anko ordered with a smile as she sat at the bar with Naruto to her right. Coming right up Anko-san. The old chef said as he began to make her order. So brat, now that we have a few minutes why don't you tell me about yourself? She asked as Naruto took a sip of water from his glass before nodding. Alright. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, I like Hokage Jiji, poisons, training, reading, and my new sensei. I dislike Sasuke and all his annoying fangirls, people who judge others, rapists, people that hurt children, and people who look down on women just because they're female. My hobbies are training, reading, gardening, experimenting with my bloodline, and making friends. My dreams for the future are to become a clan head and start a family. And if possible be Hokage for a while, so I can protect Konoha. When he finished Anko was rather happy about his introduction. Seems we've finally found a bloodline user that doesn't think the world of himself. He even seems to have a rather high respect for women, that's always a plus in a man. Anko thought before she started her own introduction. My name is Mitarashi Anko, I like dango, sake, my friends Kurenai, Hana and Yugao, and the old man Hokage. I dislike arrogant pricks, my former sensei, chauvinist pigs, rapists, child abusers, traitors, and people who judge others based on past associations. My hobbies are training, working in the torture and interrogation department, and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to kill my sensei, or at least know that he's dead. I'd also like to find a man that'll treat me right and have a family. She finished with a small blush as she thought about having a husband and child of her own. Order up. Said the old chef as he placed 2 plates loaded with dango in front of Naruto and Anko. You know I never took you for a woman that was into younger men Anko-san. The old chef giggled perversely. Oh shut it, Genji-asan. She replied with a light blush on her cheeks. He's my student not a date. Naruto nodded but turned towards the old chef and said, I would be greatly honored if Anko-sensei would take me as her date, though. The old chef laughed loudly while Anko blushed scarlet and quickly put Naruto in a headlock. Don't get cocky brat. You've got a long way to go before you gain that kind of privilege. She said as she messed up his hair with her free hand. After the two had finished their celebratory meal they parted ways for the evening. Naruto went to his apartment to tend to his poison garden, while Anko went to go write up her preliminary report for the Hokage. After a couple hours Anko had finished her report and turned it over to the Hokage for his inspection. After she had left Saratobi and his former teammates opened the file and perused its contents. Anko's report, as requested by the Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, I, Mitarashi Anko, tested one Uzumaki Naruto's abilities in the ninja arts in a full sparring match with no restrictions. From said match I've ranked Uzumaki Naruto's skills according to his proficiency as displayed. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Age: 12. Status: Active Ninja. Rank: Genin. Ninjutsu rank: C-Class Jounin. Ninjutsu rank: Unknown, likely Genin level. Hijutsu rank: A-Class Chunin. Weapons rank: A-Class Chunin. Speed rank: C-Class Chunin. Reaction time rank: B-Class Chunin. Overall ranking: BA-Class Chunin. End Anko's report. This bodes well for Naruto making Chunin on this year's exams. They'll even be held shortly after his birthday if I'm correct. Spoke Sarutobi as he finished the report. That is assuming you two also give your support to the boy to participate. Both Hamura and Kaharu looked at the Hokage before speaking. Sarutobi, you know neither of us holds anything against the boy, said Kaharu as she looked at her former teammate. She's correct, Sarutobi. We hold no ill will for young Naruto, but we fear that beast inside him more than anything else in this world. Hamura finished with a scared tone. The possibility of that beast and its power falling into an enemy's hands is the only reason we would ever deny the boy a chance to participate in anything. Kaharu said as she sat down beside Sarutobi. We'll all make sure that such a thing never happens. Sarutobi replied as he rolled up a scroll and placed it in his robes. Now I bid you both good night. It has been a long day and I think we all could use some rest. With a nod the two advisors parted ways with the Hokage and all three left to their own residences. End chapter. Chapter 3 Missions and Full Toxicity. Naruto woke at 7 in the morning the day after testing to meet Anko for their first mission together. As he was going through his morning routine he began to wonder what his first few missions with his new sensei were going to be like. I doubt it'll be anything incredible, Naruto thought as he locked his apartment and made his way to the missions office to meet his sensei and receive their first mission. Once Naruto was inside of the doors to the Hokage Tower he saw his sensei leaning against a wall beside the doors. When she looked up at him he gave her a cheerful grin before greeting her. Good morning, Anko sensei, he said before he gave her a respectful bow. Good morning, brat, Anko replied as she smirked at him. Let's go start the most boring missions of your life, she said with a sigh before leading him into the tower. After receiving a few D-rank missions from the Chunin on duty, both sensei and student left the missions office and headed for the home of their first client of the day. After arriving at one of the multitudes of small farms on the outskirts of the village walls, the duo knocked on the front door. Moments later an elderly man answered and after seeing their headband smiled and let them into his living room. So, you two are the ninja that are gonna get rid of those vermin for me? The old man questioned as his equally old wife served them both some tea. Yes sir, that's what we're here for, Anko answered as she sipped her tea. So what kind of vermin do you need exterminated? Naruto questioned as he also sipped his tea. I need those damn rats out of my fields and out of my chicken coops, the old man complained as he scratched his gray hair in exhaustion as he suddenly looked his full age. Rats, sir? Naruto questioned as he finished his tea. That's right youngin', but I'm certain these ain't no normal rats. They always escape the traps I use and sometimes they even take the bait without setting the traps off. There ain't no normal rats that can do that, the old farmer said as he sighed tiredly. Don't worry sir, Anko said kindly, we'll have the whole population taken care of before lunch. The old man's face lit up with a small smile as he showed them the way to the barn where he kept his crops after harvesting them. This is where the monsters do the most damage, he said as he showed them all of the deep-baited traps. Well I'll leave you youngins to it, let me know when those monsters are all gone, the old man said before he went back to his house to await the results. Alright Brad, since this is our first mission I'll be helping you, Anko said as she pulled out a kunai. When you see a rat you do this. With that she threw her kunai and impaled a dark grey rat through the head. Seems simple enough, Naruto replied before taking out several of his poison senbon and letting them loose into 6 other rats that had come out from behind one of the many farming tools lining the walls of the barn. Within a second all 6 rats were completely still and quite obviously dead. They both kept at it for about an hour before deeming the barn cleared out. After moving to the large chicken coop the two began the process of removing the infestation of rats. About half an hour after the two began something strange happened with one of the rats Naruto targeted with his senbon. To both Naruto and Anko's shock the rat not only stood on its hind legs, it also rapidly moved its head out of the path of the senbon and looked at them with an affronted look on its small face. What was that for? A small rodent questioned the two ninja as it sniffed at them from the wall it stood in front of. Anko sensei, Naruto said. Yeah Brad, Anko questioned. Did that rat just speak to us? He asked. Yes it did, she replied as she put her kunai away. I believe we may have just stumbled upon the root of our client's problem, she said as she knelt down and looked at the rat. You're a summon animal aren't you? When she said that Naruto's eyes widened and he began to walk over to the rat cautiously. Do you have a human summoner? Anko asked as she let the rat sniff her hand. Nope, can't say I do snake lady. The rat replied as he sat back down and scratched his side with his back leg. Snake lady? Naruto asked the rat with a pointed look. Yeah, she smells like the snake summons. The rat answered as he began sniffing Naruto. Why are you here if you weren't summoned? Anko questioned as she watched the rat climb up Naruto's arm while continually sniffing the boy. Looking for some good food, of course. The rat replied as he sat in Naruto's hair and looked at Anko lazily. How long have you been here? Naruto asked as he tried to look up at the rat on his head. Just a few weeks. The rat sighed as it rolled around in Naruto's soft blonde hair. Are all these other rat summons? Anko asked as the rat snuggled deeper into Naruto's hair. Nah, they're regular everyday dumbass rats. The rat replied as it curled up for a nap on Naruto's head. So you're the only summon here? You're the rat that's been deep-baiting all the traps? Naruto questioned the lazily dozing rat. Yeah, I guess that'd be me. The rat replied tiredly. Now will you let me sleep? The rat asked as it went back to dozing on Naruto's head. Yeah, sure, have a nice nap big guy. Naruto replied kindly as he stood up. Alright brat, I'm sure you could finish this up real quick with a little poison. Anko said as she stepped outside the coop and waited for Naruto's all clear. Shortly after departing, clouds of poison started drifting out of the open door and all the small windows. A few minutes later Naruto came out with a burlap sack of dead rats. That should be all of them, Anko-sensei. He replied as they headed back to the client's house. After dropping off the sack of dead rats and telling the old farmer that the rat population had been decimated, they got their mission scroll signed by the client and headed off to their next year rank. Their next mission turned out to be the infamous Retrieve Tora mission. After tracking the cat into the forest, Naruto released a poison senbon into its back leg and let it run off. Once they had tracked it down again, the cat was already fast asleep and unable to put up a fight. When Anko and Naruto returned the sleeping cat to its owner and getting the mission signed off on as complete, they went to complete their final task for the day. The last mission of the day was walking the Inyazuka dogs. Once the two had arrived, the clan head, Inyazuka Tsume, led them to the kennels where her daughter, Inyazuka Hana, was waiting with the dogs on leashes. Just walk them around the park down the street and bring them back. That'll be enough exercise for today. Tsume told them as Hana gave the leashes to Naruto. Of course, Inyazuka-sama. I'll take good care of them, Inyazuka-hime. Naruto said to Tsume and Hana respectively. After Naruto said that, Tsume gained a feral grin while Hana smirked with a light blush on her cheeks. What's this about, brat? I thought you were in love with me. Anko teasingly pouted at him. But you said I haven't earned it yet. Naruto replied with a joking smile. Well, if you do this well enough, I'm sure Hana and I could give you a little tip for your services. Tsume said with a grin as Naruto blushed and stuttered out that it wasn't necessary. Shortly afterwards, Naruto was being halfway dragged around the park by the 12 or so dogs that he held by leashes. Would you guys at least go in the same direction? He asked the dogs as they once again went multiple directions. After finally getting the dogs around the park and back to the Inyazuka compound, Hana put the dogs into their kennels while Naruto sat on the back porch of Tsume's house, gulping down a bottle of water. Well, looks like you did pretty well, Naruto. Tsume said as she came up to him from the kennels. The dogs looked quite happy with their walk. Hana added as she quickly gave him a small kiss on the cheek before retreating into the house. Naruto was blushing up a storm and trying to talk before Tsume burst out laughing at the embarrassed teenage boy. After Naruto calmed down, he stood before Tsume and asked her to sign the mission scroll. Once she signed it and Naruto put it into his pouch for later delivery, Tsume quickly grasped his jaw and brought his lips to hers in an intense kiss that left Naruto stunned. Naruto's jaw dropped as his mind stalled as he tried to process what was happening. When Naruto's mouth opened, Tsume took her chance and pushed her tongue into his mouth while grabbing his right hand and placing it on her firm ass. Naruto's mind had completely shut down at this point and he just stood there dumbly. Once she'd had her fun, Tsume released the boy who simply stood there transfixed. Oh Tsume, I think you broke him. Anko chuckled as she waved her hand in front of Naruto's unblinking face. Tsume chuckled as well before responding. Yeah, he should wake up in a few minutes. She replied. Though I wouldn't mind taking him to my bed at all, either. Tsume finished while leering at Naruto. Yeah, he'd probably be a great father. Anko said with a smirk as she watched Naruto continue to stand there unmoving. I bet the pup's he'd father would be incredibly strong as well. Makes me want him all the more. Tsume responded with a grin as Naruto finally regained movement before blushing up a storm and practically sprinting out of the Inyazuka compound. Both Anko and Tsume laughed loudly at the teenager's innocence. Maybe he'll be interested in a clan alliance in a couple months once he makes Chunin. Tsume pondered out loud as she sat on her porch. I'll ask him for you. Anko responded before leaving the compound with a wave and a smile. When Anko caught up to Naruto, he was still blushing and trying to calm down. What's wrong, brat? Not used to the wiles of women? Anko questioned with a laugh as she walked beside him. No, I'm not. he stuttered out as they walked towards the Hokage tower. What did I miss? Questioned the summon rat as he poked his head out of Naruto blonde locks. You're still there? Naruto questioned as he tried to look up at the rat. How did you stay up there this whole time? He asked as the rat stretched out before sitting on top of his head. I wrapped myself in your hair. Makes a great blanket by the way. The rat explained as he scratched his ear. So what are you still doing here? Anko questioned as she eyed the summon. Well, since Poison Man here was kind enough to let me nap in his hair, I thought I'd put in a good word for him with the boss. The summon rat answered with a shrug. You mean you want to ask your boss to allow me to summon your kind? Naruto questioned in shock while Anko's eyes widened as well. Yep. The rat replied before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Damn brat, you might just be getting a summoning contract before you're even out of the academy for more than a month. Anko said as she continued on towards the Hokage tower. Time skip 1 month later. After a month of D rank missions, Anko finally snapped. Damn it, old man. Give us at least a C rank. I'm tired of these boring ass chores. After her outburst she blushed and recomposed herself. I mean, I believe my apprentice is more than ready for more difficult missions. She said as she bowed to the aged leader. Naruto was simply nodding his head in agreement with his sensei. Very well Anko, I'll trust your judgment on this matter. Sarutobi replied as he pulled a scroll out of the C rank stack and gave it to her. There's a gang of bandits on the outskirts of Takigi village that have been causing too much trouble. They've been linked to theft, rape, and murder already. The town elder has commissioned us to get rid of them by any means necessary. I trust you two with resolving this quickly. He said as Anko looked over the mission scroll. Yes sir, Hokage-sama. Both Anko and Naruto replied with a bow as they left the mission office to prepare for their mission. Once the two met up at the gates of the village, Anko checked Naruto's gear. After deeming it acceptable for a few day-long C rank, they took off into the forest and began tree hopping. After tree hopping for several hours, the duo came to a stop in a small clearing far from the main pathways. Alright brat. We'll make camp here for the night and arrive in the village tomorrow morning. Anko said as she started setting up a tent for the night. I'll get the firewood for tonight, Anko-sensei. Naruto said before he went into the forest to collect what they'd need. After bringing back an armload of firewood as well as 2 rabbits he had killed with a well-placed kunai each, Naruto and Anko set about cooking their own rabbit over the newly made fire. After dinner Naruto noticed that Anko hadn't set up the tent he'd brought and asked her about it. I'm not going to hold your hand through this mission brat. Either set up your own tent or sleep in mine. She responded before going into her tent for the night. Afterwards Naruto simply set up his own tent before going to bed for the night. Damn, Anko thought with slight disappointment. I was kinda hoping he'd take me up on my offer. With that final thought she drifted off to sleep for the night. The next morning after a short breakfast of pre-made food, the two headed towards Takigi at top speed. When they arrived the two could tell the village had been harassed several times by the bandits they had come to eliminate. After being shown to the village elder and explaining that they were the team sent to rid them of their bandit problem, the elder directed them to the last known camp of the bandits and begged them to get rid of them before their village was attacked again. Anko and Naruto had no trouble tracking the bandits to the camp as the bandits obviously didn't bother covering their tracks. After scouting the camp and determining that all the bandits were there, the two ninja waited for nightfall before they made a move. Alright brat, show me some of that poison work of yours. Anko told Naruto. He nodded before going through hand seals and whispering, in Bijaburu Dakuso no Jutsu. 1. With that Naruto inhaled deeply before breathing out a colorless odorless toxin into the camp. Once he used the jutsu he told Anko to wait 5 minutes before he'd go down into the camp and make sure everyone was dead. After the 5 minutes had passed Naruto ventured down into the camp and began checking pulses. Once he checked the last pulse of the last bandit. He exited the tent before making his way back to let Anko know she could torch the camp and they could complete their mission. When he reached the center of camp he sensed incoming projectiles and hit the ground. He heard 3 distinct hits and when he looked up he saw 3 kunai lodged in a wooden post he had been walking past before he ducked. He looked back to where the kunai came from to see a ninja from Kusa if the headband was any indication. The thing that Naruto noticed the most however was the slash mark going through the metal plate that denoted the man before him as a missing nin. So you're the little brat that took out all my little minions? He asked as he pulled out more kunai. So you're the leader of these bastards? Naruto questioned as he got ready for combat. Yeah, I am. The Kusa-nin replied. I'm also the leader of these guys. He said with a laugh as he snapped his fingers and 20 bandits came out from hiding. Let me guess. Naruto asked, you have a few rebreathers don't you? The Kusa-nin and his goons laughed as they showed off their masks that let them survive the poison. Figures scumbags like you would have stolen something like that. Naruto remarked while slowly circulating massive amounts of chakra through his body. Suddenly Anko landed behind Naruto and pulled out her own kunai while she stared down the thugs. Seems you ran into some trouble brat. She said with a smirk. No trouble sensei, just a little unfinished business. He replied with a smile at her. Take out the babe. The Kusa missing nin called out as he and his men leered at Anko's body. Don't get any ideas bastard. Anko snarled at him. Don't worry slut. We'll be having a lot of fun with you once we get rid of the brat. The Kusa missing nin responded as his men cheered. I'm afraid you and your goons won't get the chance, you dumbass. Naruto said as he started releasing massive amounts of thick poisonous smoke from his body. Anko-sensei, please step back and observe. I'll show you my true full power right now. Naruto said as Anko looked at him questioningly. You sure brat? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Yes, I don't want you to get caught up in my techniques. He replied with a serious tone. Alright Brad, take them out. I've wondered what the full extent of your bloodline was since I saw it in action. Anko told him before she leapt backwards and onto the roof of a second-story house about 100 feet behind Naruto. Kill that little shit. The Kusa missing nin yelled as all of the bandits charged at Naruto with weapons drawn. Foolish, you Doku Futin. Doku Tatapa. Do, Naruto yelled as he unleashed a massive surge of poisonous wind at the bandits that sent them all flying back into several tents. Ha. You stupid punk, did you forget we all have these rebreathers? The ex-Kusa nin laughed as the bandits began to get up from the ruined tents. Nope, that was just a test. Here's where this massacre is going to get interesting. Naruto said as he sped through several more hand seals. Yudoku Suiton. Dekuso Tepidama. 3, he shouted before firing off 5 spheres of pure liquid poison at the bandits. 5 bandits were hit, while 10 more were splashed by poison that flew off the first 5 bandits. Shortly after they were hit all 15 bandits were on the ground screaming out in intense pain. Before the other bandits could recover Naruto was moving in with his hands covered in chakra. Ekidoku Sentu. 4, Naruto yelled as he punched the first bandit in the jaw. The second bandit got a back fist to his throat, while the third got a knife hand to the back of the neck. The fourth and fifth both got palm heels into their chins and were unconscious before they hit the ground. The ex-Kusa nin was stunned. This kid had just taken out 20 full-grown men in less than a minute. This wasn't some ordinary genin. This kid was some kind of monster. Doten. Tsuchi Bunshin no Jutsu. The Kusa missing nin yelled out as he created 20 clones. You can't beat me you little bastard. All the clones yelled as they charged the boy. Naruto nimbly dodged between the strikes of the Kusa missing nin and his clones before being surrounded by the clones. Now we've got you damn it. The ex-Kusa nin yelled out with a laugh. Not really, now you're all in range. Naruto said as he smirked before unleashing the massive amount of chakra he'd built up inside of his body. Dekushu Hijutsu. Hakyoku no Dekuso. 5, he yelled as a massive explosion of dark green poisonous smoke and purple liquid poison exploded off his body and covered the entire camp in multiple types of poison. Damn it Brad. Anko yelled as she had just barely managed to outrun the boy's jutsu. Shortly after the jutsu was used Anko saw Naruto walk out of the thick green smoke and stand before her. The poison should wear off in a couple hours, Anko-sensei. I got that guy's head sealed in this scroll. He said as he showed her a plain sealing scroll. That jutsu takes an ass load of chakra even for me. But there's no chance of survival for any living thing caught inside the blast radius. Naruto explained before Anko smacked him in the back of the head. If it has a 0% chance of survival, then don't use it when I'm in range you brat. She yelled at him before she started dragging him back to Takigi village to report a completed mission and to get the elder to sign the mission scroll. Yes, Anko-sensei, sorry Anko-sensei. Naruto replied as he started walking beside her. After getting the scroll signed by the elder after showing him the head of the Kusa missing nin, the two left Takigi village and headed back to Konoha. When night fell Naruto set up his tent while Anko hunted their dinner. After Anko returned with a small boar, they roasted it and had a large meal as a sort of celebration for Naruto's first completed C-rank mission. Once the meal was completed Naruto went into his tent to sleep for the night. Just before he fell asleep he heard the tent flap open. When he shot up to see who it was he saw Anko entering his tent. What are you doing sensei? He questioned as she closed the tent flap. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. What's it look like, brat? She asked as she slipped her trench coat off giving Naruto an eyeful of her fishnet-clad breasts. Anko-sensei. Naruto panicked as he used his blanket to block his eyes. Don't get so excited brat. I told you I came in here to sleep. I don't plan on having sex with you tonight. She said as she used her trench coat as a blanket and laid down beside him. Oh, okay, whatever you say Anko-sensei. Naruto replied before turning over so that his back was to his sensei. Good night sensei. He said as he tried to fall back to sleep. Night brat. Anko replied as she snuggled into her trench coat. The next morning Anko woke up shortly after sunrise. As she sat up and stretched she noticed that Naruto had twisted himself out of his blankets. Restless little brat aren't you? She thought before looking down to see if she could get out of the tent without waking him. She stopped when she saw that Naruto was sporting his morning problem and stared at it transfixed. The little brat has to be close to 6 inches and he hasn't even finished growing yet. Anko thought shocked at Naruto's impressive growth in that certain department. Without really thinking her hand began to inch towards Naruto's length. Once her fingertips touched it, she instantly wrapped her hand around it. Shit, he's at least 2 inches wide. She thought as she felt her cheeks warm up in a blush. Naruto mumbled in his sleep as Anko's eyes snapped towards his face. Thankfully he continued to sleep. Anko went back to looking at Naruto's erection. She began to stroke it at a slow pace with a blush still on her face. Naruto was groaning constantly in his sleep at this point. That's right brat, you like that don't you? You like what Anko-sensei is doing to you. You want her to make you cum, right? Anko thought with her lust-clouded mind. Whoa. Wait. What am I doing? He's only 12 for Kami's sake. I need to get out of this tent and calm down. She mentally screamed before bolting out of the tent to clear her head. Almost half an hour later Naruto crawled out of the tent and looked around for his sensei. You finally ready to go brat? Anko asked as she stood in the middle of the clearing. Yes, sensei. Naruto said before he quickly sealed the tent away and they both began tree hopping back towards Konoha. As they were making their way back Anko decided to make some light conversation. Hey brat, what kind of jutsu did you use to cause that massive blast of poison that wiped out that camp? She asked with some curiosity. Oh, that was one of the hijutsu I've created for my clan. It can only be used by someone that has the Dakushu mastered to an instinctual level like I do. It's also a technique that uses my full toxicity. Naruto explained as they continued to jump from tree to tree. I see, I guess I'll have to start requesting more C ranks like this one then. Just so I can see some more of these bloodline techniques of yours. She stated as she pushed off the branch she was on. By the way brat, what do you mean by full toxicity? Anko asked as she looked towards Naruto. It means I use my full spectrum of poisons in one single jutsu. There is no way to make an antidote for someone that has been poisoned multiple times with various poisons. Anyone hit by a full toxicity attack from any of my future clan members won't be able to survive. He explained as they both could finally see the gates of Konoha through the trees. Once they had arrived and made their way to the Hokage's office, the two stood before the old man and gave him their mission report as well as the signed mission scroll. I see, so a missing nin from Kusa was controlling the bandits. That would explain why Takigi Village's police force couldn't handle them. Saratobi stated as he exhaled the smoke from his pipe. But in any case I'm sure Kusa will enjoy receiving this man's head. I'll be sure to call you in when they send the bounty money to us Naruto. He said with a proud grandfatherly smile on his old face. Thanks Gigi. Naruto said with a smile as he rubbed the back of his head. Also, since you did encounter and battle a foreign shinobi, I'll have to mark the mission as a B rank to compensate for the increased risk. Congratulations Naruto, you're officially the youngest genin to complete a B rank mission in over a decade. The Sandaime said with a grin. Awesome Gigi. Now everyone will know how great me and Anko-sensei are as a team. Naruto exclaimed happily while Anko just smirked at him and the old Hokage chuckled at his antics. It was shortly after leaving the mission office that Anko and Naruto went their separate ways. Anko went to catch up with her friends at their favorite hangout while Naruto headed towards his apartment to tend to his poison garden. On the way to his home Naruto ran into the one team he would rather have avoided by any means possible. Team 7 was walking down the same path as Naruto when they saw him and approached him. Hey dope, have you been dropped out of the ninja forces yet? Sasuke asked with a smirk on his face. Yeah baka, have you been kicked out so everyone can see how much better Sasuke-kun is? Sakura screeched at him. Sai simply stood there with an obviously fake smile adorning his face. Kakashi looked up from his book before hitting Sasuke lightly on the head with it. You shouldn't say things like that Sasuke. Naruto's a fellow leaf nin and you may have to work with him at some point. Kakashi scolded before smiling at Naruto. How have you been since graduating Naruto? He asked as Sasuke scowled at both Kakashi and Naruto. I've been well Kakashi-san. Naruto answered with a small smile. Anko-sensei and I just got back from a successful B-rank mission. He said as Kakashi's eye widened while Sasuke automatically yelled out. You lie, dope. They wouldn't let a loser like you do a B-rank mission before an elite Uchiha like me. Sakura, ever the faithful bitch lapdog, automatically supported him. Yeah you lying baka, you couldn't even complete a B rank. Only Sasuke-kun could do that kind of mission already. She shrieked at him. Naruto was cleaning out his ears from Sakura's yelling before he sighed and looked at Kakashi. If you'll approve it Kakashi-san, I'd like to prove to your team that I'm more than capable of completing a mission that I've already completed. He said as he looked at Kakashi with a bored expression. Sure, I'm sure it'll be educational for them. Kakashi replied before leading them all to training ground 3. When they arrived Kakashi started to explain the rules of the sparring match. Alright, this is just a sparring match. So no lethal blows and nothing that'll cripple anyone. Other than that anything goes, but if I call a match that means it's over. Now this will be one-on-one sparring. At this point Naruto interrupted him and asked. Actually, Kakashi-san, if it's all the same to you I'd prefer if you'd make it a 3-on-1 match. I have some other things to take care of that doesn't involve beating those weaker than me. He said as he looked at the 3 members of Team 7. Well if you're sure Naruto. Kakashi said while Naruto nodded at him. Alright then, Hajime. Kakashi yelled while he chopped his hand down between Naruto and Team 7. Sasuke instantly sprang forward at Naruto with a punch. At the same time Sakura stood in the same place and cheered Sasuke on, while Sai jumped back and disappeared into the surrounding forest. Naruto saw Sasuke coming at him and simply sighed before dodging the punch and backfisting Sasuke's right cheek. Sasuke hit the ground hard and laid there stunned. Sasuke-kun. Sakura screeched as she tried to run past Naruto to get to her crush. Naruto however didn't let her as he grabbed the back of the collar of her shirt and drug her back in front of him before punching her in the stomach and knocking the wind out of her. You shouldn't be so focused on the Uchiha, Haruno. You left yourself wide open. Naruto said as he quickly backfisted the ink lion that had tried to pounce on him from behind. Naruto turned around and saw 9 more ink lions preparing to attack him. Come on then. He said with a smile. All 9 lions charged at him and he quickly dodged Sasuke's sucker punch from behind. Predictable, Uchiha. He smirked before grabbing Sasuke's arm and tossing him into 3 of the ink lions, causing them to disperse. Naruto quickly ducked another lion before punching it in the stomach, causing it to disperse, and then charging another lion, before dispersing it with a roundhouse kick to the left side of its head. 5 down 4 to go. Naruto mumbled before flinging 5 senbon at them, while he mule-kicked Sasuke who had tried to sneak up on him. By the time Sasuke had hit the ground the 4 remaining ink lions had been dispersed by the senbon, and Sai had fallen out of the tree behind the lions, with the 5th senbon stuck in the left side of his chest. You lose Uchiha. Naruto said as he stepped on Sasuke's back to keep him from getting up. Winner Naruto. Kakashi said slightly shocked as Naruto removed his foot from Sasuke's back. While Naruto was walking away from the sparring area Sasuke stood up in a rage and flew through hand seals before screaming, "Die you dope. Kaiten. Gakaku no Jutsu." Sasuke unleashed a large fireball at Naruto's back. Sasuke the match is over. Kakashi yelled out while staring at the fireball heading for Naruto's back. Before Sasuke even noticed, Naruto had disappeared from his technique's line of fire and reappeared beside him. Naruto quickly smashed Sasuke in the face and sent him several feet back across the clearing. Why did you have to be so stupid? Naruto sighed before throwing 3 senbon into each one of Sasuke's arms and legs. After that Naruto simply walked away from the beaten Team 7. After beating Team 7 Naruto quickly made his way to his apartment and went to his poison garden to calm down. Several hours later Naruto had cared for his garden and even made a few vials of poisons. He then decided to go have some Ichiraku ramen to end his day on a good note. When he arrived Naruto greeted Tuchi and Am with a smile and told them to keep the ramen coming. After having several bowls of ramen Naruto paid his bill and left with a wave to the 2 ramen chefs. When he got back to his apartment he was in a better mood and more than ready to head to bed. After finishing his shower Naruto put his pajamas on before slipping into bed with a content smile on his face. Several hours earlier with Anko. After Anko had separated from Naruto for the day she went to meet up with her friends at their favorite bar. When she entered the bar she quickly spotted Kurenai, Hana and Yugao in their usual booth waiting for her. Hey girls, how's everything been going with you? Anko asked as she sat down with them. Kurenai was the first to respond, training with my team has been going well. I'm planning on requesting a C-rank mission tomorrow. She said while sipping her drink. Work at the vet has been going well. No serious injuries or diseases have come in. So my works has been rather easy. Hana replied with a sigh as she stirred her drink. I've been training a lot with my squad. Other than that I've been doing the normal patrols. Yugao said as she finished off her sake with a content sigh. So what have you been up to Anko? Kurenai asked. Yeah, how has that cutie Naruto been? Hana questioned with a raised eyebrow. Naruto. Oh, you mean the genin with the rare bloodline, right? Yugao asked as she refilled her glass. Yeah, that's him Yugao. He's been fine Hana. We just returned from a C-rank turned B-rank mission. Anko answered with a smile. The Brad actually handled the mission perfectly. He took out an entire camp of bandits without making a sound. He even did it with 1 jutsu. She boasted with a smile. Seriously? All 3 Kunoichi questioned incredulously. Yep, and when 20 more came out being led by a missing nin from Kusa, he actually asked me to step back. Anko said with a laugh at her friend's shocked faces. Why would he ask you to step back? Questioned Hana. Well, the Kusa pig and his bandit followers made remarks about using me to please them and that seemed to piss the brat off. Next thing I know I'm watching him dispatch 15 bandits with a poison suitin jutsu while taking out the last 5 with taijutsu and a bloodline technique. Anko explained with a slight smile and blush adorning her face. Seems like he respects women quite a bit, remarked Kurenai with an approving nod. Oh, believe me, he does. Anko responded with a smirk. How did he deal with the missing Nin? Yugao asked curiously. Believe it or not, he not only beat the asshole, he also beat 20 Tsuchi Bunshins before finishing them all off with a hijutsu he created. I'm telling you girls, that jutsu covered that entire camp in so many poisons, I don't think an entire team of medic nin could identify them all. Anko gushed slightly while smiling fondly at the memory. Does Snake Mistress Anko have a crush on her genin apprentice? Hana questioned with a teasing tone. No. Anko shouted with a blush. Well, maybe a little. I kind of saw his morning problem when we shared a tent on the way back to the village. She explained as she got a faraway look on her face. Oh really? Well, how well endowed is the boy? Yugao asked with a raised eyebrow. About 6 inches long and 2 inches thick. Anko replied in a small voice. He was also hard as a rock. She mumbled out. Honestly Anko, you sound like you touched it. Kurenai exclaimed shocked. I kind of did. Anko replied in the same small voice. I practically gave him a handjob while he was asleep before I regained control of myself. She mumbled out as she downed her entire bottle of sake. Geez Anko. You're lucky he stayed asleep. Kurenai admonished as she too downed the rest of her drink. Well, you won't have to wait long Anko-chan. Hana stated, once he turns 13 and becomes a chunin, he'll need a woman to carry his child so he can claim clan head status. Maybe if you two work out a relationship, you'll be the one who gets to be the lucky woman. She finished with a smirk. That's true enough Anko. I say you should give it a shot. Where else are you going to find a man as sweet as this Naruto sounds? Yugao asked as she smiled at Anko. Well, I would normally be against this, it does sound like you two would get along well. That might even become love if you let it happen. Kurenai said as she too gave her support. I just hope you'll be willing to share him. Hana stated with a grin. I wouldn't mind being with a guy that'll actually care about me. Plus I know he's strong, and that means we'd have strong pups together. The dog-like girl finished with a blush of her own. I might consider letting you share him with me Hana-chan. Anko said with a devious smile. But I get him first. Including his first kiss, first date, first blowjob, and his first child. She finished with a glazed expression and a little blood running down from her nose. I'd take that deal. Hana giggled out while Kurenai and Yugao looked back and forth between them with wide eyes. Well, it's getting late and I gotta torture the brat some more tomorrow and see if we can't get another C-rank mission. Anko stated as she left the bar and headed home for a good night's sleep. I think I'll tease Naruto-kun a bit tomorrow. She thought with a grin as she slipped into bed and fell asleep to dreams of her with a child of her own that had very familiar blue eyes. Chapter end. Chapter 4 Missions, Training, Summons, and Poison Animation. Naruto woke up the day after his first C-rank turned B-rank mission and headed towards the bathroom to begin his morning routine. After showering and eating breakfast he brushed his teeth before heading out to meet his sensei at the training grounds. Wonder what kind of training Anko-sensei has planned for today. He wondered as he walked down the street towards the training grounds. Across the village Anko was awaiting Naruto for morning training. I think I'll see everything the brat can do with his bloodline today. I don't want to be surprised by one of his techniques again. She thought as she leaned against a tree and munched on a stick of dango she had bought on the way there. After waiting for a few more minutes Anko spotted Naruto entering the training ground with his hands in his pockets. Good morning Anko-sensei. He greeted with a smile as he gave her a respectful bow. Morning, brat. She responded with a grin as she roamed his body with her eyes. Yep, still a fine young man. With his respectful attitude he'll make a great husband and a perfect father. She thought with a slight blush that Naruto barely noticed. Is Anko blushing? Naruto thought before shrugging it off. So what are we doing today Anko-sensei? He asked her as he stood in front of Anko. Today you're going to show me all of your bloodline techniques so I don't get caught off guard like I did on our last mission. She replied as she gave him a playful glare. I said I was sorry. Naruto replied as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Regardless, you're going to show me so I know what to expect from you. She said as she motioned towards the center of the training ground. Yes, Anko-sensei. He replied before he moved to the center of the field and began producing a purple smoke from both his hands. Naruto completed a sequence of hand seals before speaking his jutsu's name. Dekusadu no Jutsu. 1, he said as the poison smoke began to move and twist into various shapes. What does this do brat? Anko asked as she watched the poison move around Naruto's body. This jutsu is the basis of several of my jutsu that move, like my Udoku Yauko no Jutsu, without me moving them. By using this technique as the base of another technique I can give it both a form and a more solid density. That's how my poison demon foxes are able to bite and actually pierce flesh. Any jutsu that uses this technique as a base is part of what I call my poison animation collection. He explained as he shifted the poison smoke into the kanji for see Anko sensei. As he smiled at her. Impressive brat. Anko remarked with a smirk. What else can you do? I know that can't be it. She stated with a grin. How about this? Naruto questioned as he went through several hand seals before calling out Dakuryuiden no Jutsu. 2. And exhaling a dragon of pure liquid poison towards a group of bushes and trees. The poison dragon splashed over the plants, within moments the plants were all withering and dying under the poison's power. You created a Ryuuden Jutsu with your bloodline? Anko asked slightly awed. It was no secret that the Ryuuden Jutsu, such as the Suiton, Suryuuden no Jutsu or the Kaiten, Kairomaru no Jutsu, were highly powerful jutsu that could potentially destroy entire enemy encampments when controlled properly. Yeah, it takes a lot of chakra though. But I've heard that's common among the Ryuuden Jutsu. Naruto replied as he prepared his next jutsu. Here's another one I created Anko sensei. Naruto said as he called out, Sairagasu no Jutsu. 3. Before exhaling an oddly colored gas towards Anko. You brat. She yelled before her eyes started to burn and she started sneezing, hacking, and coughing. When the gas cleared, Anko stumbled towards Naruto and took a swing at him. You damn, cough, brat. I'm going to, cough, beat the shit out of, achoo, you. Naruto dodged her wild swings before grabbing both of her hands and trapping them between both of their bodies in a hug. What are you doing, cough, brat? Anko questioned while trying to focus on him. Just showing you another technique I came up with, Anko sensei. Naruto answered before capturing her lips in a kiss. The brat's actually kissing me. Why am I getting Sadrosi? Was the last thought she had before falling unconscious. I called it my Kuruhurumu Seppen for Anko sensei. Naruto said as he set her down against a tree and began removing the poisons from her body with a chakra-covered hand. What the hell hit me? Anko mentally questioned as she regained consciousness. Oh yeah, that brat gassed me, and when I tried to kick his ass he kissed me. She thought before bringing her hand to her lips and blushing. Are you alright, Anko sensei? She heard a familiar voice ask. Quickly snapping her eyes open, she had Naruto pinned against a tree with a kunai to his throat. Yeah brat, I'm just fine. She said with a smirk as she saw him pale and begin to sweat. Now is that all the jutsu you have created with your bloodline? She asked him flatly. Yeah, that's all of them so far. The other few I have are still in the planning stages. He stuttered out as she began to lower her kunai. I see. Anko said while she lowered the kunai all the way down to his crotch. Anko sensei, what are you doing? Naruto questioned nervously as he tried to back away. Oh nothing, but I'd like to know what you plan to do now that you've stolen a kiss from me. I expect some kind of compensation. She said with a smirk as she pressed the kunai closer to his crotch. What do you want? I'll do anything if you'll promise not to use that kunai right now. Naruto said as he looked down at the blade she had pressed to his crotch. I think a date is in order. You'll take me somewhere nice and treat me to dinner, then you'll pay for the meal and walk me home like a gentleman. Yes, I think that'll just about make up for you stealing that kiss from me. Anko stated with a devious grin on her face. Sure, Anko sensei. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Naruto replied as he gave her his best smile. Well, his best smile, well, she had a sharp kunai pressed against his crotch anyway. I expected no less than that from you. She replied with a grin as she put her kunai away. Now I want to see how far you've come with your summoning jutsu. Anko told him as she pushed him back towards the center of the clearing. Yes, Anko sensei. Naruto responded as he thought back to the day he'd gotten approval to summon the Rat clan. Flashback the day after Naruto met the Rat summon. Naruto and Anko had just completed another day's worth of D-rank missions and were heading to the training grounds to get in some afternoon training. Once they'd gotten to the training ground they started a light warm-up before getting to the serious training. Suddenly a puff of ninja smoke appeared in the middle of the clearing. Both Anko and Naruto were instantly on guard in case it was some kind of attack. To both of their surprise, the rat that had taken a nap in Naruto's hair the day before was sitting on top of the largest rat both of them had ever seen. Hey Poison Man, how are you doing today? The small rat asked with a wave. Oh, it's just you. Anko said dismissively as she put her kunai away. Hey, what do you mean, just me? That's not nice, Snake Lady. The small rat whined as he pouted on top of the large rat's head. Hush now, Soki. We are here to present your poison friend with the contract per boss's orders. The large rat stated. Not that I'm unhappy about receiving a summoning contract or anything, but could you tell me why a rat that's almost as big as a horse is needed to allow me to sign it? Naruto asked as he stared at the giant rat. I'm the keeper of the contract, human. The large rat responded before lifting its head and showing them the scroll that was hanging from its neck like a necklace. The large rat removed the scroll from its neck before laying it on the ground and unrolling it. Naruto looked at the scroll and noticed that there had only been 5 previous contract holders, and all of their names were black, meaning they had died. When was the last time the Rat clan had a human contract holder? Anko asked curiously as she peered over Naruto's shoulder. About 130 years ago. He died in the massive wars that ravaged the lands at the time. Before the hidden villages brought a measure of order to the chaos of the land. The large rat answered as he showed Naruto how to sign the contract. After signing the contract in blood and leaving his right hand print on the scroll, the large rat rolled up the scroll and nodded to Naruto before disappearing in another puff of ninja smoke. So, your name is Naruto, right, Poison Man? Soki, the small rat, asked him as he sat before Naruto and looked him over. Yeah, that's me, Uzumaki Naruto, at your service. Naruto replied with a grin as he held out his hand and let Soki climb up to his shoulder. Well Naruto, my name is Soki, I'll be your main partner for the Rat clan. Feel free to call on me whenever you need my abilities. Soki responded as he scratched behind his ear with his back paw. What kind of abilities does the Rat clan possess? Anko asked as she watched Naruto and Soki interact. Oh, we can do lots of things. Soki stated before hopping off Naruto's shoulder and landing on top of a training post nearby. For example, rats about my size are good for infiltration and subtle attacks. While larger rats, like the one I came with, are excellent frontline fighters. Other rats are gigantic and can smash through whole enemy encampments and fortresses. And our boss, well he's about the size of a Biju, he can take on entire armies of humans or several battalions of ninja. Soki explained as he looked at both Anko and Naruto. I see, so what should I do with the contract now that I've signed it? Naruto questioned as he looked between Anko and Soki. You need to train in summoning jutsu, brat. Once you're able to summon the boss you'll need to work on summoning specific members of the clan. Some contracts even allow you to summon multiple members of the clan at one time. Anko explained as she looked to Soki for confirmation. Snake Lady is right, Naruto. Soki confirmed, our contract can summon entire hordes of rats in one summoning. But you can't fully use the contract without the boss's approval. The only way to get the boss's approval, though, is to summon him and pass whatever test he decides to give you. Naruto nodded in understanding before asking if he should try to summon the boss. Not a good idea, brat. If you summon a boss animal this close to the residential area of the village, you'll cause a massive panic amongst the civilians, not to mention that every ninja in the village would quickly surround the area and seal it off with multiple forms of barrier jutsu. Anko cautioned as Naruto quickly separated his hands from each other. Not to mention the fact that most people don't know about my clan summoning contract. They might think they're being attacked by a Biju if the boss suddenly appeared in the middle of your village. Soki replied as he sat on the training post. Alright, so no summoning near the residential area of the village. Got it. Naruto said as he stood beside Anko. Well, I'd suggest summoning the boss soon. He doesn't like to be kept waiting. Soki told him while lying down on top of the training post. Alright then, brat, we're going to see the Hokage about your new summoning contract. I'm sure he'll give you authorization to summon the rat boss once he designates a proper area for it. Anko stated as she started towards the Hokage tower. Hop on, Soki. Naruto said as his new rat summon jumped onto his shoulder before Naruto followed after Anko. After getting to the Hokage tower and making their way up to the Hokage's office, the trio were ushered into the office where Sarutobi was meeting with Koharu and Homura. Ah, Anko and Naruto, what is it can I do for you today? I'm afraid you'll have to make it quick though as I'm currently in a meeting. Sarutobi said as he gestured to his former teammates. Okage-sama, my apprentice recently came into possession of a summoning contract for the Rat clan, and I've come to you seeking authorization to use one of the large training grounds as the area for his first attempt to summon the contract's boss Rat. Anko stated with a bow towards the aged leader. Is this true, Naruto? Homura asked the boy with a speculative look. Yes it is, Counselor Midokado. I now hold the contract for the Rat clan. But I need to summon the boss before I can fully utilize the contract. Naruto replied while scratching Soki behind the ears. Is that a member of your new contract, Naruto? Koharu questioned as she looked at the rat. Yes, he is Counselor Udatane, his name is Soki. He answered as he set Soki on the Hokage's desk for the 3 elder ninja to examine. Hey, how are you old people doing? Soki questioned the Hokage and his 2 advisors. Naruto and Anko both face-palmed at the rat's disrespectful greeting. Not much for respect, are you? The Sensei asked as he looked at the rat. Nah, not really. Soki replied before scratching his neck with his back paw. Well, I'm sure we can get an area set up for you to try your hand at summoning Naruto. Just give me an hour or 2 and we'll let you know where you can begin your attempts. Sarutobi told him as Anko and Naruto both bowed respectfully to their leader before leaving the office to grab lunch together. 2 hours later Naruto and Anko were standing on a cliff overlooking a large forested valley that was several square miles in size. I believe this training ground will suit your summoning needs, Naruto. Sarutobi stated as Kaharu and Homura walked up to the sensei and apprentice duo. Yeah, the boss should be more than capable of moving around here. That's already a plus for you, Poison Man. Soki remarked from atop Naruto's head. Alright brat, go down there and summon the boss so we can start missions again. Anko said with a smirk as she shoved Naruto over the cliff and down towards the training ground. Yes, Anko-sensei. Naruto replied as he landed on the ground safely and started tree hopping towards the large clearing in the center of the area. So, what do you believe are the boys' chances of summoning the boss today? Kaharu questioned as she looked to her old teammates and Anko. I'd give the boy a 50-50 chance of actually summoning the boss today. Homura answered as they watched a boy arrive in the center of the valley training ground. I can guarantee the brat will summon the boss on his first attempt, Anko declared with a grin. Care to explain your confidence in Naruto's abilities? Sarutobi asked her while watching the boy go through the hand seals for the summoning jutsu. Just what I've seen him do. Not to mention what I've read from his files about his chakra capacity. Anko replied before they all heard the shout of Kuchius no Jutsu and directed their attention to the area where Naruto had just vanished inside a massive cloud of summoning smoke. When the smoke cleared, a rat almost 200 feet tall stood in the center of the training field with a curious look on its face as it took in its new surroundings. The boss rat was covered in dark gray, almost black, fur and had what appeared to be armor covering his back, underbelly and his forelegs. From under the dull metal armor dirty cloth bandages could be seen. The rat also had similar bandages wrapped around its head and covering the space between its eyes. Who the hell summoned me? The giant rat boomed out as it observed its surroundings warily. I'll be damned. Homura breathed out in shock. I told you so, counselor. Anko said with a grin. Sarutobi looked on fondly as he watched his surrogate grandson try to get the boss rat's attention. The boy is truly impressive. Kaharu stated as she too watched on as Naruto finally seemed to get the rat's attention. I summoned you, boss. Naruto said as the rat tried to look up at the small human on top of its head. Come down onto my snout, little one. The rat boss ordered with a twitch of its nose. Sure thing, boss. Naruto replied before leaping down onto the rat's snout. So you summoned me, human? The boss asked as he stared down at Naruto. Yes, I did. I'm hoping to gain your approval to summon your clan. Naruto answered with a bow of respect to the great beast before him. Your manners are excellent, boy. Let's check your scent to see what you're truly like. The giant rat said as he inhaled Naruto's scent and closed his eyes briefly. You smell of various poisons, sweat, the forest, and if I'm not mistaken, multiple flavors of ramen. The rat boss said as he opened his eyes again. Wow, Naruto stated with shock. You can tell all that with just a sniff. The rat boss gave a slight nod so as not to displace Naruto before replying. Yes, and your scent and the smells that come from you tell me much more about you. For example, the fact that you smell so heavily of sweat and the forest tells me you spend most of your time training. While the smell of poisons tells me what kind of weapons and techniques you specialize in. The ramen, however, I can only guess that it's your favorite food. The rat boss said while Naruto just nodded in amazement at the rat's sharp nose. So, boss, what test are you going to give me so I can gain your approval? Naruto asked as he stared into the rat boss's eyes eagerly. Well, you've already passed 3 of my normal requirements. The first being that you summoned me in an area I'd be comfortable in. This valley provides me ample space to move around and is full of wonderful scenery. The second requirement was your manners upon summoning me. Showing respect to me by bowing when we met proved that you're respectful when you need to be. The third requirement was your scent. The smells that prove you train day after day for hours on end allows me to know that my contract holder is strong enough to show the true strength of my clan. In truth, you've only one more requirement to meet before I give you my approval. The boss rat explained to the now grinning Naruto. What is it? I'll do my best to pass, boss. He stated as he practically shook in anticipation. Bring me a bottle of sake that's big enough to sate a being of my size. The rat boss said as Naruto and all the other humans watching face faulted. Are you serious, boss? Naruto questioned as he rubbed the back of his head. Of course, my final requirement is that you know how to properly reward a member of my clan for a job well done. The boss rat replied as he stared at the genin. Well, I guess that makes sense. Naruto said before looking back towards the boss. I'll be back in about an hour, boss, can you wait that long? The rat boss simply lowered himself down until he was lying on the ground before replying. Sure thing. I'll enjoy the scenery and maybe get in a bit of a nap. By the way, child, my name is Soki Aoja. I'm Soki-kun's father. Naruto quickly reached into his hair and pulled Soki out. You're this guy's father? He asked surprised. Hey old man. Soki said with a wave to his father. I expect you to assist young Naruto in his last test, Soki. Soki Aoja told his son with a pointed look. No problem, dad. Soki replied with a grin. But that both Naruto and Soki ran back to Anko, Sarutobi, Hamura, and Kaharu. After telling them his plan to get the acceptable amount of sake and getting a loan from the Hokage, Naruto quickly ran to the sake brewery near the edge of the village. After telling them he wanted to buy 100 gallons of sake and showing them the money the Hokage loaned him, the brewmaster was more than happy to lead him to a tank containing 100 gallons of sake that was about to be bottled and distributed to various parts of the village. Naruto quickly paid the brewmaster before using a sealing scroll and sealing all 100 gallons inside. After thanking the brewmaster for the sake, Naruto and Soki headed back to the training ground to find that Sarutobi had come through on his end of the bargain and used one of the Doten jutsu he'd mastered over his many years as a shinobi to create a giant sake bottle out of clay. After unsealing the sake and letting it fill the newly created bottle, Soki jumped onto his father's nose and woke him up. I see you've gotten the sake. You've even had a bottle made for me. I must admit I'm impressed. Soki Aoja said as he picked up the massive bottle and took several sips. Ah, not bad at all. Alright Naruto, you've met all my expectations, so I grant you full use of the Rat Clan summoning contract. With that statement, both Soki Aoja and the giant sake bottle disappeared in a giant poof of ninja smoke. Then flashback, after that day Naruto had practiced his summoning jutsu several days out of every week. Kuchiyus no jutsu. He called out as he slammed his hand onto the ground. When the smoke cleared, Soki sat in the training ground and looked up at Naruto. Hey Naruto, how have you been? Soki asked as he climbed up Naruto's outstretched arm. I'm good Soki, how about you? Naruto replied as he scratched behind Soki's ears and gave him a small bread roll he kept on him for when he had to summon any of the small rats. I'm good. Soki replied as he started nibbling away on the roll. What am I, not here or something? Anko asked as she stared at the rat. Oh, hey Anko. When did you get here? Soki asked with a grin as he kept eating his roll. Yeah, good to see you too rodent. She replied with a smirk as she looked at Naruto. Alright Brad, you seem to be able to control exactly how many rats you summon and how big they are. So how about we get another C rank? She asked with a grin. Yeah sure, sounds like fun Anko sensei. Naruto replied as Soki climbed into his hair and started dozing. But that both sensei and student made their way to the Hokage Tower to pick up a new mission. When the duo entered the mission office, they came across Team 7, Team 8 and Team 10 waiting to pick up mission of their own. It seemed, however, that Sasuke was arguing about the mission he had received and was currently holding up the other two teams' attempts to get a mission for themselves. Damn it, I'm an elite Uchiha and I demand a B rank mission. If the dope can do one, then it should be easy for a ninja of my caliber. Sasuke yelled at the Chunin that was distributing the missions. To save the Chunin from having to explain why Sasuke couldn't have a B rank mission yet, Naruto made himself known by answering for the Chunin. It doesn't matter who you are Sasuke team, you haven't done enough D rank missions to even qualify for a C rank, much less a B rank. Naruto stated as he and Anko walked towards the desk. That's what I've been trying to tell you for the last few minutes Sasuke. Kakashi sighed as he partially looked up from his Icha book to admonish Sasuke. You can't talk to Sasuke-kun like that. Both Ino and Sakura yelled at Naruto. Naruto simply started cleaning out his ear with his pinky, trying to get them to stop ringing. Shut your mouths you wannabe Kunoichi. Anko shouted at the two fangirls. Sakura and Ino instantly shrunk back behind their teams to get away from Anko. Sheesh, try and tell some emo Avenger the truth and you have to deal with his rabid howler monkey fangirls. Naruto sighed as he put his hands back in his pockets. I must admit I was surprised by your completion of a B rank mission Naruto-san. Asuma stated as he exhaled smoke from his cigarette. It was a bit challenging, but with Anko sensei there it wasn't anything to really worry about. Naruto said humbly while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. From what Anko told me, you're the one who actually took out the entire bandit camp. You even took the head of a Kusagakure missing nin that was leading them if I heard correctly. Kurenai stated as she looked at the boy with a grin. Come on now Kurenai-san, you're embarrassing me. Naruto said as he looked at the ground while scratching his right cheek. Besides, he was only a C rank missing nin. A Ryushunin that had knowledge of some of Kusagakure's private jutsu. He wasn't really all that strong. All the other genin, besides Sasuke of course, had wide eyes at what they were hearing. But it was because he had said knowledge that Kusagakure has sent you the money to cover that man's bounty, Naruto. Sarutobi stated as everyone turned to look at the desk to see that the Chunin had been relieved by the Hokage himself. Still as sneaky as ever, right Hokage Jiji? Naruto remarked as Sarutobi smiled and handed him a scroll with the word bounty written in kanji on it, as well as a letter with Kusagakure's insignia on it. Naruto quickly opened the letter and absent-mindedly started reading it out loud. Letter from Kusagakure. Dear Uzumaki Naruto, we in Kusa would like to thank you for ridding us of one of our more annoying missing nin. Bakisauchi Tansu, the missing nin you eliminated, held knowledge that could have been disastrous in the wrong hands. We as a village commend you for getting rid of him and his traitorous ways. If you would like, feel free to visit Kusagakure no Sato sometime in the future. We would enjoy meeting the man who helped our village maintain its secrecy. Enclosed in the scroll, which should be with this letter, is Tansu's bounty. His head was worth approximately 250,000 ryo, and it is all there for you to do with as you please. In the future please feel free to take out any and all Kusa missing nin you come across. You will be given their bounties and free reign to any weapons they have on them. We hope to see more impressive feats from you in the future, young Uzumaki. Sincerely, the Hada Saichu, leader of Kusagakure. End letter. Holy crap. Naruto just got a major payday. Kiba shouted as Naruto looked up from the scroll. I read out loud, didn't I? He asked as Anko nodded with a grin on her face. Very impressive, Naruto-san. Shino complimented from beside his sensei. Yeah, way to go, Naruto. Chaoji said with a grin as he reached for more chips. You're so troublesome. Shikamaru stated with a sigh as he looked around bored. GG, good job, Naruto-kun. Hinata stuttered out while poking her fingers together. Thanks you guys. Looks like I can pay back that loan now, right Hokage? Naruto replied with a grin as he stowed away both the letter and the scroll. Yes it does, Naruto, but we can deal with that at a later time. Now, on to the reason everyone is here. Sarutobi stated as he exhaled smoke from his pipe and picked out several mission scrolls. Team 7 will receive a D rank. He stated as he handed Kakashi a mission scroll with a large D on it. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Kakashi said with a bow before ushering his team out the door. Teammate has requested 2 D rank missions for today. Sarutobi said as he handed Kurenai 2 mission scrolls. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Kurenai said with a bow as she and her team left the mission office. Finally, Team 10 has a D rank mission as well. He said as he gave Asuma a mission scroll. Thanks Pops. Asuma said with a slight bow as he led his team away. Now Naruto and Anko, I assume you two would like a C rank, correct? Sarutobi asked while thumbing through the mission scrolls. Yes sir, Hokage-sama. Anko stated with a smile as she gave a slight bow. I'm glad those two seem to be getting along so well. Sarutobi thought with a smile while looking through the missions he had available. Very well, I believe this mission will suit the two of you quite well. You'll be going to Himori village west of Konoha. It seems their police force is having some trouble getting rid of a local gang of thugs that have been plaguing the villagers. The police want the gang brought in alive so that they can be arrested and properly sentenced to imprisonment. Sarutobi explained while handing the scroll to Anko. Mission accepted, Hokage-sama. My apprentice and I will be back within a week. With that said, both Naruto and Anko bowed to the Sandaime and left the office. Time skip one day later. After tree hopping for several hours and making camp for the night, which involved Anko teasing Naruto with a brief glimpse at her breasts inside the tent they shared, the two had made it to Himori the next morning. After meeting with both the village elder and the police chief and getting what info they could on the gang, which mainly involved the fact that the gang members seemingly disappeared when they were about to be caught, Anko and Naruto set out to complete their mission. It seems to me that these thugs have some way of escaping from the police that doesn't involve just running and hoping to get away. It wouldn't be wise to try and chase them all over town if we could just find their hiding place and flood the little punks with police officers. Anko mused as she and Naruto sat on top of the roof of the police station. Actually, I think I know a way we could do that. Naruto replied with a grin as he jumped off the roof and landed in the alleyway below. Anko quickly followed after him before he could get too far. So what's your big plan, brat? Anko asked as she and Naruto stood in an alley shielded from the view of the passing villagers. Well, I was thinking, wouldn't it be possible for these thugs to use the city sewers as an escape route? I mean, every manhole leads to another one somewhere else, so if we could track one of them through the sewers, when they try and outrun the police sometime tonight, we could find their hideout and shut them inside with one of your Doton jutsu. Naruto explained as he went through several hand seals. I see what you mean. Civilians rarely think about looking down when they're chasing someone. If these punks had the manholes set up beforehand, they could slip down them and cover them back up before the police noticed. Anko nodded in approval as she watched her apprentice finish his hand seals. Too bad for these thugs, I have the ultimate sewer dwellers on our side. Kuchius no jutsu. Naruto said with a smirk as almost 100 average-sized rats appeared out of the cloud of ninja smoke. What do you need, Naruto? Soki asked from in front of the horde of rats. I need you guys to patrol the sewer systems around here and follow anyone that's using them. When you find out where they're going with them, come back and report to me or Anko. He said as all the rats, except Soki, saluted before scurrying down the currently open manhole between Naruto and Anko's feet. Now we just have to sit back and wait, right brat? Anko asked with a grin while Naruto nodded. Yep, Soki and the others will know the entire layout of the sewer system in roughly an hour or so, and the thugs don't usually cause trouble until about an hour after sundown. Which, by my estimation, isn't for another 3 hours. So I say we just hang out in the restaurant outside this alley until one of my furry friends reports in. he stated before walking out of the alley with Anko by his side. Sounds like a plan, brat. Besides, a good meal sounds nice right about now. She replied as they both entered the restaurant to get some food. Almost 3.5 hours later, Soki climbed into Naruto's lap under the table he and Anko were sharing and whispered to him. "Naruto, we found a guy running through the sewers a few minutes ago. He left the sewers and entered a house near the outskirts of the village. I'll show you where he is. From the sounds of it, there are a lot of other people in the house as well." Soki reported as Naruto smiled before slipping Soki a large roll with a slice of cheese between the two halves Naruto had cut it in. "Excellent work, Soki. Tell the others that they can assemble back in the alleyway for their reward," Naruto whispered as he felt Soki hop off his lap before he stood up and told Anko to follow Soki. After several minutes of roof hopping, the two ninja found the house Soki and the other rats had designated as the thugs' hideout. "So this is where the little punks are hiding?" Anko asked with a raised eyebrow. "Yep, about 70 people are currently inside from what the others have told me," Soki responded while finishing off his cheese roll. "Well, I leave the entrapment up to you, Anko-sensei," Naruto said with an exaggerated bow. "HMPH, flattery will get you nowhere, brat," she responded before she leapt down to the street and went through several hand seals. "Doten. Kubamatu no Jutsu. 5, Anko whispered before putting her hands on the ground. Suddenly the ground around the house rose up into a hollow cylinder almost 40 feet high and 2 feet thick. The surprised shouts from the now trapped group of thugs filled the air as they tried in vain to find a way out of the giant earthen structure they found themselves in. "Well, that takes care of them," Anko said with a smirk as Naruto landed beside her. "Now we just wait for the police to arrive," he said with a smile as he stood beside her. It only took the entire police force a few minutes to assemble around the large earthen tower that had suddenly appeared on the outskirts of their village. When they got there, Anko was quick to explain the situation. After the police were up to date on the situation, they quickly surrounded the area. Anko told them she was going to make a hole in and prepared to arrest the thugs that had been giving their village such a hard time. When Anko made the doorway, several thugs predictably ran straight out. The police had no trouble catching them and starting the arrests. Several thugs tried to resist, which made both Anko and Naruto smile, but were quickly subdued when the policemen pulled out their standard issue jut and hit them in the back of the head with the bottom of the handle. Shortly after, both Anko and Naruto were getting their mission scrolls signed and started their way back to Konoha. They had spent a total of 3 days in Himori village and were both glad that they were ahead of schedule. After setting up for another night of camping, and Anko teased Naruto again, this time by giving him a brief view of her ass with nothing but her fishnet panties on, they both settled down to sleep. The next morning, both Anko and Naruto broke camp and made it back to Konoha. After turning in their mission scroll and collecting their share of the payment, they both left the mission office. "So Brad, how about you take me on that date you owe me tomorrow night?" Anko asked with a slight blush as she walked beside Naruto. Sure, Anko-sensei. I'd love to," Naruto answered nervously with his whole face red. "Sounds like a plan to me. Pick me up at 7 and find a nice place for dinner, alright?" she asked with a smile and a light blush on her cheeks. "Of course, Anko-sensei. I'll make this date as enjoyable as possible for you," he replied with a nervous chuckle. "Then I'll see you tomorrow night, my little stud," she whispered into his ear seductively. Naruto's response was to have a dark red blush, babble like an idiot, and finally have to pinch his nose to prevent himself from passing out from a nosebleed. Anko watched all this before bursting out laughing and walking away to tell her friends about her date tomorrow night. "She's going to be the death of me one day, I'm sure of it," Naruto thought as he made his way home to plan out his date for tomorrow night. Chapter end. Chapter 5. Dates, Teaching, and Reinforcement. Naruto was incredibly nervous. He had spent his entire day planning out every aspect of his date tonight. He had woken up at 7 in the morning and gone through his morning rituals before getting dressed and heading out into the village to prepare for the date he had with Anko. After several hours of searching, he found a restaurant with a menu that would suit both Anko's tastes and his own. He quickly made reservations for 2 at 7 that night before going to a tailor shop in the merchant section of the village. Naruto spent several minutes getting his measurements taken for his new dress clothes and paid the tailor with some of the leftover bounty money to have them ready by 6 o'clock that night. At exactly 6, Naruto picked up his new dress clothes and dashed back to his apartment to shower and change. Now he stood before his only full-length mirror, smoothing out the sleeves and trying to calm himself down. "Okay, I can do this. It's just a date. Just a date with my beautiful sensei that takes every opportunity to tease me with her body and could take me out in an instant if I piss her off," Naruto said to himself with a sigh as he left his apartment and headed for Anko's place. It wasn't long before Naruto found himself standing in front of Anko's door and he had to swallow the lump in his throat. Okay, just keep it together, show Anko a good time tonight, be a gentleman, and make it back. That's all there is to this. Okay, here we go." he thought before knocking on her door. A few seconds later Anko opened her door and Naruto's mind went blank. Standing before him in a dark lavender dress that went down to just above her knees and showed off a bit of cleavage while accentuating her curves while her hair was let down and wearing black heels, stood his sensei with a smile on her face as she gauged his reaction. "Brat doesn't look too bad himself," Anko commented mentally as her eyes roamed over Naruto's attire. Naruto stood before her wearing a white undershirt with a dark green haori over it. His pants were also a dark green and stopped a few inches above his ankles. He had a dark purple obi tied around his waist and there were several orange diamond shapes on the bottom of the haori near the hem. "Do you like what you see, brat?" Anko asked with a teasing grin as Naruto finally shook himself out of his stupor. He quickly smiled back at her while rubbing the back of his head before replying. "Yes, Anko-sensei. I think you look very beautiful." Naruto complimented while Anko's cheeks reddened in a blush. "Shall we go now, sensei? I made reservations for 7 and we have enough time to enjoy a leisurely stroll to the restaurant before we get there," he said with a grin as he offered his arm to her. "That sounds nice, brat," Anko replied after she'd gotten her blush under control. With that she looped her arm with his and they set off for the restaurant. Once they had arrived in front of the restaurant Anko broke out into a grin. "The you and Shikuji, huh? You sure know how to spoil a girl, don't you, brat?" she said with a grin as Naruto opened the door to the 4-star restaurant for her. "Quite the gentleman as well. I'm seriously going to make you my husband if you keep this up, brat," Anko thought with a grin. "Only the best for you, Anko-sensei," Naruto replied with a gentle smile. As Anko walked into the restaurant, he quickly followed after her as they made their way to the host's podium. "Good evening, sir and madam. Welcome to you and Shikuji, do you have a reservation?" the host asked with a professional air as he opened his reservations book. "Yes sir, we do. A table for 2 under Uzumaki," Naruto answered as the host looked down at his book for confirmation. "Yes, it's right here. Table for 2 at 7. Please follow me and I'll show you to your table," the host stated as he led them through the beautifully decorated restaurant and towards their table. After going up a flight of stairs to the upper level and being led across the elegant floor, they finally arrived at their table. "Here you are, sir," the host said as he stopped at a table by the windows. "Please enjoy your evening with us and have a wonderful meal," the host stated before walking back the way they'd come. "Very nice so far," Anko said with a smile as Naruto pulled her chair out for her. "And you just keep on impressing me, Mr. Gentleman," she stated with a grin as she sat down and let Naruto push her chair closer to the table. "I aim to please, Anko-sensei," Naruto replied as he seated himself and began perusing the menu. Shortly after they began to look through their menus a server came up to their table and asked them what they'd like to drink. "Ladies first, Anko-sensei," Naruto said with a grin. "I'll have some of your Hagyur sake, please," Anko told the server who nodded while writing it down and then turning towards Naruto for his drink order. "I'll have some Gyokuro tea, sir," Naruto said while the server nodded as he wrote down Naruto's order. After the server left to get their drinks both Anko and Naruto continued looking through their menus for a dish that appealed to them. The server returned with their drinks a minute later and asked them what they'd like to have for the evening. "I'll have your beef kushiyaki with a side of fried rice, if you would," Anko stated as the server nodded and complimented her on her choice. He then turned to Naruto and asked for his order. "I'd like your motoyaki shrimp meal, sir," Naruto said as the server once again nodded and complimented his choice. After the server took their orders to the kitchen the two made light small talk and traded humorous tales about their past experiences that had both of them cracking up by the time their food arrived. As their meals were placed in front of them, Naruto and Anko couldn't help but to breathe in the delectable aromas the food produced. After thanking the server and being left to their meals, Naruto and Anko quickly began devouring their food as quickly as possible while still maintaining their manners. When the two had finished the server returned to take their used dishware back to the kitchen and asked them if they'd like any dessert. "If you want something feel free to order it, Anko-sensei," Naruto told her with a smile as she quickly looked through the dessert menu. After several seconds Anko had decided what she wanted and looked towards the server. "I'd like an order of your chichidango, please," Anko ordered as the server nodded his head before taking their used dishware back to the kitchen to be washed. Anko sighed happily as she looked over at her date with a smile. "You've completely blown away all my expectations, brat," she said as Naruto smiled at her. "I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Anko-sensei," Naruto replied as he sipped his tea. Shortly after that the server returned with Anko's dessert and refilled both Anko's sake and Naruto's tea. Once he'd left Anko picked out one of the dumplings and put it in her mouth to eat. "Oh yes, that's dango perfection," Anko sighed contentedly as she took another dumpling off the plate. "Here brat, try one," she said as Naruto reached out to take it. Anko moved it away. "Nope, you just open up, brat," she stated with a devious grin as Naruto's eyes widened. "Are you sure, Anko-sensei?" Naruto asked, shocked at what she was hinting at. When she nodded, Naruto simply complied and opened his mouth and let Anko feed him the dumpling. You're right, Anko-sensei. These are good. He said with a smile as the sweet dumpling assaulted his taste buds with flavor. Told you, brat. Now it's your turn. Anko replied with a seductive smirk as Naruto blushed before picking up a dumpling and holding it in front of Anko's mouth. With a wink at Naruto, she opened her mouth and ran her tongue over the dumpling before taking the bite-sized sweet into her mouth and chewing it with a grin. At this point, Naruto had a heavy blush on his face at his sensei's rather suggestive way of eating and was close to a nosebleed like never before. This continued on until they had finished the dessert entirely, at which point the server returned with their check and thanked them for their business. A good meal, if I do say so myself. Naruto said with a grin as Anko nodded. Naruto quickly paid the bill and left a nice tip for the server before pulling Anko's chair back and helping her up. Shall we go, Anko-sensei? He asked as he offered her his arm, which she took with a grin. As they left the restaurant and headed back towards Anko's apartment, they both talked quietly about various topics while they strolled down the street arm in arm. When they stopped in front of Anko's door, she turned towards him and thanked him for the evening. Thank you for this wonderful date tonight. Anko said with a smile as Naruto smiled back. I don't think I've ever been treated as well or spoiled as much as you did for me tonight. She said with a grin as he rubbed the back of his head with a grin. You don't have to thank me, Anko-sensei, it was my pleasure. I really enjoyed tonight too. Naruto replied as he smiled. Before he saw it coming, Anko had captured his lips in a gentle kiss. After realizing what was happening, Naruto slowly closed his eyes and enjoyed the kiss the two were now sharing. When Anko pulled away, Naruto slowly opened his eyes before a small contented smile appeared on his face. That was nice. He said with a happy sigh. I'm glad you liked it. Anko giggled as she looked at Naruto's dazed expression. Maybe I should let you have one more for being such a gentleman tonight. She asked in a teasing tone before giggling again when Naruto began to nod his head with a silly grin on his face. Alright, I guess I wouldn't mind. She said playfully before their lips met again in a gentle kiss. Shortly after the kiss began, Naruto felt Anko's tongue at his lips and instinctively opened his mouth to deepen the kiss. After several seconds, the two broke apart for air. With a content smile on both of their faces, the two embraced and simply held each other for a moment. Have a good night, Naruto-kun. Anko whispered to him with a smile. You too, Anko-chan. Naruto said quietly as they separated from each other's embrace. You know, I think this is the first time you've called me by my name. He said with a grin as Anko smiled at him. I think you've more than proven to me that you're not a brat. Anko said with a wink as she gave him a chaste kiss on the cheek. Good night, Naruto-kun. She said as she entered her apartment. Good night, Anko-chan. Sweet dreams. Naruto replied before he began to walk back to his place in a happy daze. Anko watched him walk away with a smile before closing her door and heading to bed. Time skipped the next morning. Naruto awoke with a smile still plastered to his face as he recalled his successful date last night. I'm glad that worked out. I think me and Anko-chan could really have a future together. He thought with a happy sigh as he went through his morning ritual. Once he was finished, he left his apartment and headed towards the training grounds that he and Anko regularly used. When he arrived, Anko was already there and sitting on a tree branch watching him. She looks as beautiful as ever. Naruto thought as he waved to her. Good morning, Naruto. Sleep well? Anko asked with a grin that told him she already knew the answer. He also thought it made her look sexy, but she had enough tricks to use on him already and he didn't think she needed any more. Best sleep I've had so far, Anko-sensei. Naruto replied as he stood beside the tree she was sitting in. With a smile, Anko jumped down beside him and told him their plans for the day. Alright, Naruto, today I'm going to teach you some taijutsu to help polish up your overall form. You're proficient in the art, but I want you to have the basis of a few different styles that you can use or fall back on if you need to. Anko explained while Naruto nodded and followed her as they moved towards the center of the clearing. Today I'll show you the basis of 3 different taijutsu styles and we'll practice them every day until you're proficient in their combat application. She said as they stopped in the center of the clearing. The 3 styles you'll be learning from me are called Hibitijeki Ryu 1, Tetsugoi Ryu 2, and Rikamute Ryu 3. Once you become proficient in these 3 styles and are able to transition between them in the heat of battle, you'll be almost unbeatable in terms of taijutsu. However, learning these styles to that degree can take several months and to actually master them takes many years longer than that. So for now we'll just get you up to proficiency. Anko explained as she took the first stance and Naruto began mimicking her stances and movement. Time skipped 3 months later. Naruto woke up at his usual time of 7 in the morning. After the last 3 months of Anko drilling 3 taijutsu styles into his head and kicking the crap out of him during their taijutsu spars, Naruto had reached proficiency in all 3 styles. Between the constant training and missions for the village, Naruto and Anko had gone on several dates over the last 3 months, and the two were closer to each other now than ever before. To say Naruto was happy was an understatement. He had a sensei that was devoted to making him stronger, and a loving girlfriend that had promised him a wild first time once he turned 13. Just thinking of that certain promise of Anko's had Naruto blushing up a storm. After locking his door and heading to the training grounds to meet Anko, Naruto began to wonder what kind of mission they'd get today. Anko was currently waiting for her boyfriend apprentice to meet her at their usual training grounds so they could head to the mission's office to get another C-rank mission. She was actually contemplating requesting a B-rank mission just to see how far Naruto had come since his last B-rank, not to mention the fact that she loved to watch him fight strong opponents. It gave her a sense of pride to see her apprentice boyfriend use the skills she taught him to complete their missions. She'd also started counting down the weeks until his 13th birthday when he became a legal adult in the eyes of the village's laws. She'd already promised him a wild night and she couldn't help but to be slightly impatient for it. After all, if things went according to the plans she'd made, Naruto would be able to claim clan head status soon after he passed the Chunin selection exams, and she'd get to marry the man she loved and have a child with him, all in a relatively short amount of time after his birthday. Those thoughts alone made Anko want to drag Naruto to her house, throw him onto her bed, and have her way with him until she was sure they were parents. "Good morning, Anko-sensei." Naruto called, breaking Anko from her love-filled lusty thoughts. She quickly looked up at him with a bright smile and waved at him from across the clearing. "Morning, Naruto. Are you ready for another mission?" Anko asked as they met in the middle of the clearing. "Yes, Anko-sensei, I believe I am," Naruto said while he smiled at her. "I'm also ready for another date with you," he remarked as she blushed before playfully pushing his shoulder. "We had a date 3 nights ago. Are you already missing my loving company?" Anko asked with a smirk as she gave him a little pose and a sexy look with her eyes half-lidded. "I miss your company as soon as we separate each day," Naruto replied with a grin as he rubbed his neck. "You're what makes me keep going after all," he said playfully when she blushed. Deciding to get him back for making her blush, Anko came up with a devious plan. "Then I suppose this will keep you going all day, right?" she said as she quickly pulled her trench coat completely open, showing him her fishnet-clad breasts for a full 3 seconds before covering them again. What were we talking about?" Naruto asked as he stuttered and blushed profusely while trying to stop a nosebleed from happening. All the while Anko was giggling at her boyfriend's antics. "Alright, Naruto-kun, let's get going before we both get completely sidetracked," Anko said as she started walking towards the mission office. Naruto was still trying to prevent his nosebleed, so he simply followed along behind her until he got himself back under control. Once they'd arrived at the mission office, they entered to find the Sandaime reading an average-looking scroll with a troubled look on his face. "Hokage-sama, Mitarashi Anko and Uzumaki Naruto, reporting for mission assignment," Anko said while she and Naruto both bowed to their leader. Anko and Naruto, you two will be perfect for this situation," the Sandaime stated as he looked the two over. Naruto and Anko both looked at each other before returning their gazes back to the Hokage. "What situation do you require us to undertake, sir?" Anko asked as she and Naruto looked towards the Hokage for further details. "It seems the Team 7's first C rank mission has been falsified somewhat. The actual mission rank is at least B rank with a possibility of ascending into the A rank. As such, to prevent the deaths of several genin, I'm assigning you to the task of being the reinforcements that Kakashi requested. Since the both of you have successfully completed a B rank before, I have complete faith that you'll be able to make sure this mission is completed," the Hokage explained as he lit his pipe and exhaled a cloud of smoke from his lips. "When you two meet with Team 7, I want Anko to take the position of second in command and Naruto to take control of third in command above the genin. Here are your orders." The Hokage handed Anko a scroll sealed with his personal mark. "Show Kakashi that scroll and he'll fill you in on the current situation. You'll be headed for Nami no Kuni Sopak for an extended mission." Dismissed. With that, both Anko and Naruto bowed to the Hokage and left the mission office to go prepare for their new mission. The two met back at the village gates 20 minutes later and quickly began tree-hopping towards Nami no Kuni. "You know, I somehow knew that Uchiha boy wouldn't amount to what the villagers thought he would," Anko stated as she and Naruto leapt from branch to branch. "I could have told you that," Naruto replied as he leapt from another branch. "If you listened to what some of the villagers said about him, you'd think he was the best thing to happen to shinobi since the Shodame Hokage," he stated while Anko chuckled at the audacity of the statement. "Oh well, that's why they're civilians and we're ninja. We know the truth about this kind of thing. Just because you're from a famous clan doesn't mean you'll amount to shit without some hard work," Anko said with a shrug as Naruto nodded in agreement. It was about 3 hours later when the duo reached the shores of Hai no Kuni. "Alright, Naruto, do you think you can water walk the whole way? It's a long walk from here to Nami no Kuni," Anko explained as Naruto thought back to the day Anko had taught him water walking. Flashback 2 days after Anko's and Naruto's first date. Naruto, today I'm going to teach you a new chakra control exercise. It's called water walking and it allows you to do exactly what it says, walk on water. Once you learn this you'll have a much better control over your chakra and you'll probably be able to use some of your more powerful jutsu without tiring yourself out as much. Anko said as Naruto stood before her listening to her explanation. Now, watch while I demonstrate. She said as she stepped onto the surface of the pond that was near their normal training grounds. Naruto watched as Anko walked on top of the water before stopping and staring at him. Well, hurry up and try it out. All you have to do is find the right amount of chakra that'll keep you above the water. Too much and the water will fly away from your feet and you'll fall in. Not enough and you'll do what you do normally and sink. She explained as Naruto nodded before putting his right foot on the water's surface and focusing his chakra into his foot to get a feel for how much he'd need. Surprisingly, to Anko at least, Naruto had managed to keep all but his feet and ankles above the water on his first try. As he unsteadily moved around on the water's surface trying to find the right amount of chakra to keep himself afloat, Anko had moved closer to help him. However, since she hadn't made a sound when she walked over to him, her sudden voice behind him caused him to lose his concentration and sink into the water. Unfortunately, or fortunately depending on how you look at it, Naruto had tried to grab onto the nearest thing he could to keep from falling into the water. In this case it was Anko's trench coat and he ended up pulling her into the water with him. When they both came up for air, Naruto was treated to the sight of his beautiful sensei, pulling herself back onto the surface of the water. Anko's body was soaked and her trench coat had come open so Naruto could see the water as it slid off her large breasts and down her flat and toned stomach. Needless to say Naruto's nose had erupted into a fountain of blood and he had to quickly swim to shore. When Anko realized what Naruto had seen and saw his reaction to it, she decided to torture the boy a little more and walked back to shore with her trench coat still open. So, Naruto-kun, did you enjoy the view? She asked as Naruto looked up and quickly rocketed backwards with another nosebleed at the up-close view he'd just gotten of his sensei's amazing body. I'll take that as a yes. Anko giggled as she closed her trench coat and proceeded to wake Naruto up. In all, it took Naruto until nightfall to actually learn water walking. By the end of the next week, he had mastered it to the point that could do it instinctively. Then flashback, Naruto quickly snapped out of his reminiscing before nodding to Anko that he could make the journey. Both of them quickly bolted across the water and started their way to Nami no Kuni. Shortly after they began their run, Anko and Naruto came across a massive bridge that was still incomplete. Both of them marveled at the sheer size of the bridge before deciding it would be easier to run on the bridge than it would be to waste their chakra running on the water. So with a quick application of chakra to their feet, they both ran up the pillar support nearest them and arrived on top of the bridge. After they landed on top of the bridge, it was an easy sprint straight to Nami no Kuni which only took them about 20 minutes to make. After arriving on the island of Nami no Kuni, Anko and Naruto both tried to feel out the chakra of anyone nearby. However, since neither of them were sensor-type shinobi they weren't able to get a definite reading. They were, however, able to feel the closest chakra signatures to themselves and quickly dashed towards the area via the rooftops. When the duo spotted the house that held the chakra signatures they both dropped down onto the pier in front of the house before quickly moving to either side of the door. Anko knocked on the door softly and they both waited for the door to be opened. When they heard footsteps behind the door and saw it open they both moved in front of the now open door and locked eyes with the woman who had answered their knock. She appeared to be in her mid to late 20s and had long blue hair and wore a pink shirt with a blue skirt and a white apron around her waist. Who are you two? The woman asked with wide eyes as she saw their obvious ninja attire. Pardon our intrusion, Anko said with a nod towards the woman. But we're the reinforcement sent by Konoha on request of Hada Kakashi. After her introduction for the two of them the woman's eyes returned to normal and Sai came out from behind the doorframe. Well, at least one of you brats is actually protecting the client by coming to answer the door with her. Anko stated with a sigh as the woman invited them in. After introductions were over the woman, Tsunami, took them to the room Kakashi was using to recover. Hey, Kakashi, heard you got into a bit of trouble, the old man sent us to help you out. Anko said with a smirk as she walked into the room followed by Naruto. Oh hello Anko, how nice to see you. Kakashi replied with his patented eye smile. Kakashi was currently sitting up in a futon and had Sakura and Sasuke on either side of him. What are you doing here? Dope. Sasuke questioned as he glared at Naruto. When Sakura saw Sasuke's reaction she instantly glared at Naruto as well. Naruto, seeing their looks, simply sighed before answering them both. Anko-sensei and I were sent here on orders from the Sandaime Hokage to provide reinforcement for Team 7 on their C-rank turn B-rank mission. With the possibility of this mission ascending to A rank status, the Hokage chose our team to handle it, as we are currently the team with the highest number of high-level missions successfully completed from my graduating class. Naruto explained as Anko smirked while Kakashi smiled at the explanation. Sasuke and Sakura just continued to glare at the blonde. Anyway, Kakashi, the old man told me to give you this scroll to explain our new orders. Anko stated as she tossed the scroll to Kakashi, who caught it and quickly opened it. After reading the scroll, Kakashi nodded to Anko and told Sakura to go and bring Sai into the room. When she returned with Sai in tow, Kakashi started his explanation of the events that lead up to his team's current situation. Now, as per Hokage-sama's orders, Anko will be in charge while I recover, and when I'm back up to strength, I'll return to command of the mission overall. However, Anko is always second in command, and Naruto is third. There will be no complaints about this, or I'll be forced to write up the offender for insubordination. Kakashi finished as he saw both Sasuke and Sakura about to comment on Naruto's placement. With that, Kakashi laid back down and resumed actually resting. There's one thing that's been bothering me since you explained the whole situation to Anko and I, Kakashi-san. Naruto said with a look of contemplation on his face. You said this hunter nin took Zabuza out with 2 senbon to the neck, correct? At Kakashi's nod, Naruto continued. Being a user of senbon myself, I know for a fact that the only way to kill someone with a senbon to the neck is to pierce one of the veins or arteries. If well aimed, you could also kill them by severing a key point along the spine that connects to the brain. However, from what you described to us, neither senbon hit the spine, and you didn't see any large blood loss that normally accompanies a vein or artery puncture. From what I can deduce, your hunter nin put Zabuza in what is known as a false death state. Meaning he wasn't a hunter nin but an accomplice. Naruto finished while both Kakashi and Anko's eyes narrowed in realization. The genin, except for Sai, had looks of shock on their faces. I believe you're right, Naruto. This means Zabuza will be back. That's bad news for us. Kakashi replied while thinking of ways to get better faster. Naruto and Anko quickly looked at the other 3 genin to see that they had varying degrees of shock on their faces, except for Sai, who was as emotionless as ever. Alright brats, from now until Kakashi gets better you'll be constantly training in whatever he tells you to. Naruto and I will be doing the actual protecting of the client and scouting of enemy forces. Anko ordered as Kakashi was helped up and started using a pair of crutches to walk around. You heard her. Sasuke, Sakura, and Sai, you 3 come with me, it's time for some training. Kakashi said as he hobbled out of the room and down the stairs. He was shortly followed by a brooding Sasuke, a fawning Sakura, and an emotionless Ai. Go with him, Naruto-kun. Kakashi needs to rest if he's going to get better in time. So you'll watch over his brats while he heals and I protect the client. Anko stated as Naruto nodded and followed Team 7 out into the woods. After Kakashi had explained tree walking to his team, he demonstrated it and gave each of his charges a kunai to mark their progress. Why didn't you give the dope a kunai, Kakashi? I'm sure he can't do this. Sasuke said with a condescending tone as he glared at the blonde. Naruto simply smiled at Sasuke before walking up the tree, as if was as normal as a stroll down the street. You were saying, Sasuke-chan? Naruto questioned as he stood upside down on a tree branch a few feet away from Kakashi. Sasuke seethed at the fact that dope was so far ahead of him. So what, Baka? If you can do it, I bet Sasuke-kun can do it on his first try. Sakura screeched at him while he simply stared at her before responding in a menacing tone. Didn't I tell you last time? Focus on yourself more than the Uchiha or you're going to get yourself killed. Naruto admonished her with a cold voice that sent chills down Sakura's spine. I believe I can handle your team, Kakashi-san. Please return to the client's house and continue your recuperation. Naruto said with a wave of his hand towards Tsunami's house. I think I'll take you up on that offer, Naruto. Kakashi said before turning towards his team. You 3 remember, Naruto is in command when Anko and I aren't around. If I hear even one negative remark about any of you, consider yourself written up for insubordination. Kakashi told them in a serious tone before he hobbled his way back to the house to rest. Well? What are you 3 waiting for? An invitation. Start the training. Naruto said as Sasuke and Sakura both glared at him before doing as told, while Sai simply took his kunai and began to slowly scale the tree. This is going to be a long mission. Naruto thought as he watched Team 7 work. Hey, this isn't so hard. Sakura shouted as Naruto turned his head from the branch he was sitting on to look at her. Sakura was 20 feet off the ground and sitting on a limb, 10 feet below Naruto's current resting place, on her own tree. Sasuke glared at the fact that even his useless female teammate was already better at this than he was before trying again. That's good, Sakura-san. Naruto said with a gentle tone. Now walk down the tree and do it again. He finished with a grin. Sakura stared at him with an questioning look. Why? I'm already up here, doesn't that mean I'm finished? Sakura asked while Naruto simply shook his head no. Nope, to truly master this exercise means you can do it without thinking about it and for as long as you need to. Naruto explained while he laid against his tree 30 feet off the ground. I think another 5 will do. He said to her as he relaxed. 5 more times up and down the tree. Sakura asked for confirmation as she thought about how she'd impress Sasuke with her quick mastery of this skill. No, no, no. Naruto said with a wave of his hand. 5 more hours of you walking up and down the tree. He finished with a devious grin. What? Sakura shrieked so loud all the birds in the area took flight to escape the noise. This is going to be a really long mission. Naruto thought with a sigh as he told Sakura to hurry up. End chapter. Chapter 6 Meetings, Curiosity, and Preparing for Battle. It was several hours later that Naruto and an exhausted Team 7 returned to Tsunami's home. Upon their arrival Naruto met the actual client Tazuna and they all sat down for a dinner prepared by Tsunami. Shortly after the meal began Kakashi asked Naruto about the progress his team had made on the tree walking exercise. So, how are my students doing on tree walking Naruto? Kakashi asked as he looked at his worn out students. They're progressing. Naruto replied with a shrug as he took a sip of tea. Though Haruno has good control, it's only because her reserves are so small that some academy students have more chakra than she does. I'm having her run up and down the tree continuously to build up her reserves. Naruto continued as he finished a piece of fish and picked up his bowl of rice. The other two have an average amount of chakra and about average control of it. I believe Sai will finish the exercise tomorrow. Sasuke however, probably won't finish the exercise until late tomorrow night at the earliest. Naruto finished as he started to eat his rice. I see, that was a very informative report on their progress Naruto. Kakashi stated with his patented eye smile. Yeah, Naruto here will make a great Jounin sensei someday. Anko praised while winking at Naruto flirtatiously. That's probably a couple years away Anko sensei. Naruto replied as he set his empty rice bowl down and took another sip of tea. Yeah right, everyone knows the dope won't make it to Jounin. He'll be lucky if he ever gets promoted to Chunin. Sasuke mumbled while glaring at Naruto from across the table. Naruto merely locked eyes with Sasuke before an evil grin appeared on his face. Well then, Sasuke-chan, I hope you enjoyed today's training session because tomorrow you're going to be doing it for twice as long. Naruto said with a smile at the paling Uchiha. You can't do that to Sasuke-kun, you baka. Sakura tried to yell, but it came out more as a tired mumble. Naruto simply turned his eyes on Sakura, causing her to shrink down in her seat. Would you like to join him, Haruno? Naruto questioned as Sakura shook her head in the negative while sending an apologetic gaze at Sasuke. I didn't think so. Please, refrain from bringing punishment on yourself by trying to defend someone who is clearly in the wrong. Naruto told her as he went back to his tea. Naruto's right, Sakura. Sasuke was in the wrong to say that to a superior, especially on a mission. Naruto, as the one overseeing your training, has the authority to apply any punishment he deems necessary to you three if you step out of line. Kakashi stated as he got out his Icha Paradise and began reading at the table. Time skipped the next day. After everyone was up and breakfast had been finished, Naruto and Team 7 headed back into the forest to continue the training. Sakura was told to continuously run up and down the tree to build her reserves, while Sai and Sasuke were told to make it to the top of their trees. It was around dinner time when Naruto sent Sakura and Sai back to the house while telling them that their training was over for the day. When Sasuke tried to follow Naruto spoke up. Where are you going Sasuke? Did you forget? You still have your punishment training to do. Naruto said with a pointed look at Sasuke. Sasuke turned towards Naruto and glared heatedly. Why should I have to follow your punishment, dope? I plan on going to eat and then I might humor you and come back to train some more. Sasuke stated with an arrogant smirk on his face as he started walking towards the house again. Well, I must admit, I saw this coming. Naruto sighed before taking a vial of poison out of his left belt pouch and a senbon out of his back belt pouch. After spreading a dose of the poison onto the needle, Naruto threw the needle at Sasuke, striking him in the left ass cheek. Sasuke's pained yelp was the last thing he was able to get out before he reached behind himself and pulled the senbon out. What the hell are you doing, dope? Sasuke snarled as he glared at the blonde with rage. Just administering a counter-punishment, Sasuke-chan. Naruto responded as Sasuke felt his limbs getting harder to move. I've just given you a dose of Mahishiken, 1, poison. It paralyzes the limbs of the victim making movement impossible. Now, on to your new punishment. Naruto said with a grin as he dragged Sasuke by his shirt back up the tree and put him near the top. Now, Sasuke-chan, since the poison I hit you with doesn't restrict chakra flow at all, I'm going to leave you up here for another few hours. If you lose your concentration and fall your paralyzed limbs won't be able to save you. But, if you keep your chakra control steady you won't have any problems. Naruto explained as he walked back down the tree while Sasuke stuck himself firmly to the bark. About 2 hours later Kakashi, Sakura and Anko entered the clearing to see Naruto sitting on a branch about 30 feet off the ground in a meditative position, while Sasuke was near the top of the tree, sweating from the strain of keeping himself from falling. "What did you do to Sasuke-kun, Naruto?" Sakura screeched as she started to walk up the tree to get to Sasuke. "I'm curious myself, Naruto. It doesn't look like Sasuke is able to get down on his own," Kakashi said while looking at his student's sweating and exhausted appearance. "He backtalked you again, right Naruto?" Anko asked with a sigh as Naruto opened his eyes. "Got it in one, Anko-sensei." Naruto replied as he flicked Sakura's forehead when she tried to walk past his branch on her way to Sasuke. The flick was more than enough to break Sakura's focus as she fell back to the ground and landed unsteadily on her feet. "So, what did you administer as punishment, Naruto?" Kakashi asked as he saw Sasuke start to shake from the strain of holding himself up. "I temporarily paralyzed Sasuke's limbs and made him hold himself up there until I believe he's learned his lesson," Naruto answered as he stood up on his branch and stretched. Sakura suddenly screamed and Naruto sighed before holding out his right arm and catching Sasuke's ankle as he fell from the treetop. "So, Sasuke, have you learned your lesson?" Naruto asked as he stared into Sasuke's eyes. Sasuke's eyes glared at Naruto, but also showed that he didn't want to go through that punishment again. "I'll accept that as a yes, for now." Naruto sighed as he walked back down the tree with Sasuke still suspended upside down by his ankle in Naruto's hand. Naruto laid Sasuke on the ground before taking out a vial from his right belt pouch and making Sasuke swallow its contents. That was the antidote. "Sasuke will be fine in a few minutes," Naruto told everyone as he and Anko walked back to the house as Sakura rushed to Sasuke's side and Kakashi waited for his student to be able to walk on his own. Time skipped 2 days before Zabuza's return. After Sasuke's punishment, Naruto hadn't had any trouble from any member of Team 7 during training. After letting the exhausted Team 7 have dinner and retire for the night, Naruto told Anko and Kakashi that he was going to do some training of his own for a couple hours. After getting confirmation from Kakashi and Anko sneaking him a kiss, Naruto left the house and went into the forest to train. Several hours later found Naruto still training to perfect a new combination ninjutsu and taijutsu move for his Rakamute Ryu, called Resukakuha, 2. The main idea of the technique was to gather chakra into your palm and stabilize it in a spherical form before basically kicking it at your opponent. Once the chakra made contact with a physical object or another source of chakra, it would explode to cause damage. However, Naruto had yet to complete the technique which frustrated him to no end. "Damn it, what am I not doing right?" Naruto sighed in annoyance. "Alright, one more time," he said before focusing chakra to his right hand. His chakra quickly formed into a semi-visible sphere which Naruto took the time to study. "Okay, now what's wrong with you? Why doesn't the technique work?" Naruto questioned as he stared at the sphere of chakra. Naruto decided to try the technique again and tossed the chakra sphere into the air before bringing his leg around and trying to kick it towards a cluster of trees. But when his foot made contact, the chakra simply dispersed and disappeared. "Shit, what am I doing wrong?" Naruto questioned himself as he started pacing back and forth across the clearing. "Maybe it's not the sphere itself. Maybe I'm not putting out enough chakra. The sphere might not be dense enough for physical contact," Naruto mused as he continued pacing. Another hour passed before Naruto had an epiphany. "That might just be it," he said as he stood up from his position against a tree. "I need to combine the idea of the sphere being dense with chakra's natural intangibility." With that, Naruto once again brought up his hand and gathered his chakra into a sphere. This time, however, he kept gathering more and more chakra until the sphere went from semi-visible to a bright blue, almost solid, mass of chakra. "Alright, now let's see if this works," Naruto mumbled before focusing chakra to his right foot until a barely visible aura of blue surrounded his foot. Naruto tossed the chakra sphere into the air again before bringing his chakra-covered foot around and kicking the sphere. To Naruto's joy, the sphere made contact with the chakra surrounding his foot and was launched towards his target trees. When the sphere hit the first tree, it exploded in a massive burst of chakra that decimated the tree trunk and the trunks of the trees around it while kicking up a large dust cloud. "Hell yeah!" Naruto yelled happily as he watched 5 trees topple over onto the forest floor. "It was probably a good thing I didn't try kicking that dense sphere with just my foot. Most likely that would have ended up with me not having my right foot anymore. The chakra surrounding it made a buffer that let me kick the chakra sphere without it actually touching my foot. Damn, I wish I'd known this earlier. But Anko-sensei isn't a master of the Rakamute, so I guess there are some things she won't know about the higher level techniques since she doesn't use them," Naruto said to himself as another idea came to his mind. "I wonder if this could work," he questioned out loud before concentrating on his Dakusuken, causing it to start producing large quantities of a thick purple sludge-like poison. Using chakra manipulation, he shaped the sludge into a sphere and condensed it into a smaller sphere before adding more poison and repeating the process about 5 times. Alright, the poison is compressed into a high-pressure sphere. I've coated the sphere in a case of chakra so it stays together. Now let's see if this works. Naruto said before he tossed a poison sphere into the air and then kicked it towards another group of trees. When the sphere made contact with a tree, the chakra coating dispersed, allowing the poisonous sludge to explode outward from the impact point, causing several trees to get coated in poison. Awesome, now I have 2 versions of a high-level technique. Naruto panted out before going over to the nearest non-damaged tree and lying against it. Probably shouldn't have pushed it with that second technique. Naruto thought as he rested against a tree. Actually, I should name that technique. What would be good? Resu Hidorikuha 3, sounds good to me. Naruto thought before he drifted off to sleep. Time skipped the next morning. Shortly after dawn, Naruto was shaken awake by a girl with long black hair wearing a pink kimono and carrying a small basket. Once his eyes had adjusted to the early morning light, Naruto sat up and looked at the girl that had awakened him. You shouldn't sleep outside like this, you'll catch a cold. She stated with a small smile. Thank you for your concern, but I'll be alright. I don't recall ever being sick before. Strong immune system, I guess. Naruto responded as he fully stood up. What's a nice girl like you doing out here? Especially at this time of the morning? He questioned as he looked the girl over. I'm picking medicinal herbs for a friend of mine that's been injured. She stated as she showed him her basket that had several herbs already inside. Would you like some help with that? Naruto asked politely while looking at the various herbs inside the basket. If you'd like to. Thank you for the help. The girl faltered as she didn't know Naruto's name. Oh sorry, forgot to introduce myself. Naruto said while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, shinobi of Konohagakure no Sado. He stated with a small bow. Might I have your name, miss? He asked. My name is Haku, Naruto-san. The now identified Haku replied with a smile. With introductions out of the way, the two set about gathering the herbs Haku sought after. The two made small talk until Naruto noticed a trend in the herbs they were picking. Haku-san, all these herbs are normally used during the end stages of recovery from various injuries. Would I be correct in assuming that your friend is almost completely healed? Naruto questioned while Haku nodded in reply. Yes, Naruto-san, my friend should be back to normal in a couple more days with these herbs helping him along. Haku replied as she finished filling her basket. May I ask you a question, Naruto-san? She asked as she stood back up. Sure, Haku-san, what would you like to know? Naruto answered with a smile. Well, in regards to those trees over there. She started as she pointed to the trees covered in purple sludge. What happened to them? She finished with a curious look on her face. Oh, that's the result of a jutsu I was testing. I finally got it to work last night before I fell asleep. Naruto told her as he too stood back up. I see, if you don't mind my asking, is that poison that is on the trees? It looks toxic to me. Haku said as she glanced warily at the trees. Yeah, it is. But that sludge is made up of mostly hematoxins, poisons that affect the blood of animals, but can't really cause much harm to trees. I didn't want to kill a lot of trees after I knocked down those other 5. Naruto answered as he pointed to the trees he had knocked to the ground. I see, you must be quite strong, Naruto-san. Haku said as she stared at the trees lying on the forest floor. Do you have any precious people, Naruto-san? She asked as she turned to look at him. Yeah, I have a few people like that. Naruto replied with a smile as he thought about Anko, Sarutobi, and Iruka. I believe that people become strong by protecting their precious people, Naruto-san. I'm sure you'll become even stronger than you are now. Haku explained as she turned to leave. I hope we can meet again sometime, Naruto-san. Yeah, me too, Haku-san. Naruto replied as he bowed slightly. By the way, Naruto-san, I'm a boy. Haku stated with a grin as he turned around to watch Naruto's reaction. I call bullshit on that. A new voice yelled out as Anko suddenly appeared behind Haku and wrapped her arms around the boy. See, Naruto. Anko said while groping Haku's chest and massaging her lower regions. All girl here. Anko laughed as Haku blushed a million shades of red in just a few seconds. Stop. Don't touch me there. Haku half moaned out as she tried to get away from Anko's exploring hands. So, do you want to keep her, Naruto-kun? Anko asked with a sexy purr in her voice that had Naruto near a nosebleed. You can't just keep someone, Anko-sensei. Naruto exclaimed as he watched Anko finally release Haku. Are you sure, Naruto-kun? I bet she wouldn't mind having a go with you after I get my first 10 or 15 turns, of course. Anko replied with a lecherous leer at Naruto. Haku was blushing up a storm as she listened to the conversation around her. First she was groped by another girl, then said girl wanted to keep her, after that she was basically offered a chance to sleep with Naruto-san, and now his apparent sensei was talking about having her way with Naruto-san 10 or 15 times. She didn't know how much more she could hear before she fainted at this rate. Don't worry about Anko-sensei, Haku-san. She's a good person once you get to know her. Naruto assured her with a smile as Anko smiled at her while looking at her huskily. I see, well I best be on my way Naruto-san, Anko-san. Haku bowed before quickly walking away through the trees. I think you scared her a bit, Anko-sensei. Naruto told her with a sigh as Anko wrapped her arms around Naruto's shoulders from behind. Maybe. But I think you could still hit that after you finish satisfying me. Anko whispered into his ear before flicking the lobe with her tongue. Naruto was pretty sure he was deep red in the face now if the heat from his cheeks was anything to go by. So what were you working on that kept you out here all night? She asked as she released him from her arms. I finally got the Resuka down. I was even able to make a variation of it with my bloodline. But, using both took too much chakra and I ended up almost passing out. Naruto answered her as he pointed to the 2 areas he targeted last night. That's great Naruto-kun. I knew you'd be able to use the high-level Rikamutate techniques. Even though they usually take as much chakra as an air rank jutsu. Anko congratulated and praised him while shoving his face into her chest as a reward. Naruto was pretty sure he was in heaven at this point and was trying to prevent a nosebleed to prolong the experience. Well, we should probably get back. The others will be up soon and you need to finish their training by tomorrow so they'll have a chance to survive against Zabuza. She said as the 2 separated and headed back to the house. Once the 2 had made it back they discovered that Kakashi and Team 7 were all sitting around the breakfast table and eating with Tazuna and his family. Naruto and Anko took a seat next to each other at the table while Tsunami set a plate of food in front of both of them. After thanking her, the 2 began eating in the comfortable silence of the morning atmosphere. Only for said atmosphere to be completely destroyed when Tsunami's son, Inari, made an outburst at the ninja sitting around the table. Why do you all try so hard? Don't you know you're just going to die? Nobody can beat Gato. He'll just kill you all. Inari yelled at them while all the ninjas stared back at him. Why do you say that, Inari-san? Naruto questioned while turning to look at the boy. Because, there's no such thing as heroes in this world. People like Gato will just kill you if you get in their way. So there's no point in trying to fight against them. Inari exclaimed as his eyes began to water. Gato isn't that strong, Inari-san. It's his money that hires people to do things for him that makes him appear strong. Take away that money and you'll find out just how pathetic Gato really is. Regarding heroes though, that depends on who you classify as a hero. We Konoha ninja look up to our Hokage, both past and present, as heroes because they're our strongest ninja. Not to mention they also brought prosperity to our village through their actions both on and off the battlefield. I can guarantee you none of our Hokage would even slow down if it came to taking Gato out. He's just that insignificant compared to their strength. Naruto explained as he took a sip of the morning tea while both Kakashi and Anko nodded at his explanation. Seriously? Are they really that strong? Inari asked with awe written across his face. They are, Inari-san. Kakashi replied with an eye smile. Our current Hokage could walk into Gato's base of operations and kill every one of his thugs without even using his full strength. Yep, if our Nidaime was still alive he'd be able to wash them away like the dirt they are. Anko stated with a grin at the thought of Senju Tabarama using one of his many Suiton ninjutsu to destroy the corrupt businessman. Yeah, I can just imagine what Shadaime-sama Senju Hashirama would do to Gato's base. He'd probably turn it into the botanical garden from hell. Naruto chuckled as he thought back to some of the things he'd read about the Shadaime Hokage. How would he do that? Inari asked, his curiosity piqued at hearing about these incredibly powerful ninja. I'll let you explain that one Kakashi-san, you probably know more about it than I could explain. Naruto said as he motioned for Kakashi to take the speaking role. Well you see, Inari-san, our Shadaime Hokage was a man named Senju Hashirama. He had the ability to grow massive trees and other wooden constructs with his Mokuton ninjutsu. When he seriously used those abilities in combat, he could turn an entire battlefield into a forest in mere seconds. The forest he created would then attack anyone he commanded that was inside it. Using this Mokuton ability he could destroy entire enemy strongholds with a single technique. I'm told that he also grew a substantial part of the giant forest that now surrounds Konohagakure. Kakashi explained as Inari's eyes widened in amazement. Even civilians had heard about the massive forest that stretched across a majority of Hai no Kuni. To think a single man had grown most of it with ninjutsu was almost beyond his scope of comprehension. Are all cage-level ninja that strong? Tazuna asked as he stared at the shinobi sitting at his table. Mostly, some are a little weaker than Shadaime-sama, but most of them could put most civilian armies to shame by themselves. Anko replied as she finished her breakfast. How so, if you don't mind me asking? Tsunami inquired as she was also interested in these apparently superhuman ninja. Well, from what I've heard of the man, mostly from Sandaime-sama, the Shadaime Tsuchikage was able to turn the very ground beneath his opponent's feet into a weapon with barely any effort. Kakashi stated as he tried to recall what the Hokage had told him many years ago. Some say he could change the form of the ground from dirt to mud or from stone to sand in an instant. He was also said to cause huge fissures to break open the ground to cause massive damage to encampments and fortresses. He finished as he pulled out his icha and stuck his nose in it. That sounds rather terrifying if you ask me. Tazuna stated as he imagined his whole house falling into the ocean because the ground it stood on was turned into sand. Yeah, it's kind of hard to defend against an earthquake. Anko commented as she leaned on the table. What about what do they call the cage of Kaminari no Kuni? Inari questioned as his young imagination ran wild with the thoughts of all these super-powered ninja. Oh, they call him the Raikage. I know a little about the Shodaime Raikage from a history book I read a while back. Naruto said while sipping tea. Apparently, when the 5 great shinobi nations were first being formed, the man who became the Shodaime Raikage established Kumagakure no Sato supremacy as one of the 5 great nations by stabilizing Kaminari no Kuni's southern borders. From what I read, he used a jutsu called Kara no Raikagami to control an actual thunderstorm and rain lightning down upon the enemy's army. Very few were said to have survived. Also of note is that it was using this jutsu in the first great ninja war that led to the Shodaime Raikage's death. Naruto finished as Inari quickly spoke up. If he could use the jutsu, then why did he die from it? Inari questioned with a puzzled look on his young face. Well, Inari-san, it wasn't so much the jutsu that killed him. It was using it for too long. Controlling an actual thunderstorm, which is a force of nature in and of itself, takes a massive amount of chakra. The Shodaime Raikage had massive amounts of chakra, but not enough to continuously control a thunderstorm. Eventually he drained himself of his chakra supply, and the strain from using the jutsu for so long had destroyed his body from the inside out. That's the risk of using high-level jutsu like that. Kakashi explained for Naruto, who nodded at the Jounin's explanation. If it's not too secret, I've always wondered about the abilities that shinobi call Kekkei Genkai. Tsunami said somewhat nervously, hoping she wasn't asking more than she should from the Konoha ninja her father had hired. Should we explain a few, Kakashi-san? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow as he stared at the silver-haired Jounin. I don't see the harm in telling them some of the basics. As long as we don't divulge any unknown weaknesses, I think it's alright. Kakashi replied before motioning for Tsunami to ask her questions. Well, to start, I guess what I really want to know is, what is a Kekkei Genkai? Tsunami asked as she looked towards Kakashi and Anko for answers. A good first question, Tsunami-san. Kakashi said before beginning his explanation. A Kekkei Genkai, also known as a bloodline limit, is a genetic trait passed down from parent to child along shinobi lineages. They have a wide range of effects and can usually be classified into one of 3 types: chakra-based, body-based, or eye-based. Each type of bloodline gives the carrier of the trait some kind of advantage in battle, making a bloodline carrier an extremely difficult opponent in combat. Kakashi finished before turning a page in his icha. That's amazing. Tsunami breathed out as she thought about her next question. Are any of you, carriers? She asked while looking between each of the ninja at her table. In response, Kakashi, Naruto, and Sasuke raised their hands slightly to indicate that they were. If I can ask, could you show me your traits? Tsunami halfway mumbled out as she looked down slightly. I don't mind if you don't, Kakashi-san. Naruto said as he stretched out his back until it popped before leaning against the table. Alright, there's no harm, I guess. Kakashi said before closing his icha and putting it away. Which one of us would you like to see first, Tsunami-san? He asked while turning to face the woman. How about yourself, Kakashi-san? Tsunami asked as she focused her attention on the Jounin. Alright, if that's what you'd like. Kakashi said before pulling up his headband to show his Sharingan eye. This is called the Sharingan, it's an eye-based bloodline, also called a Dojutsu, that gives its wielder improved perception, the ability to cast ninjutsu by making eye contact, and can even copy any ninjutsu it gazes upon. Kakashi said while Tsunami leaned forward slightly to see the strange eye. Upon gazing at the Sharingan's red color and 3 slowly revolving Tomo, Tsunami sat back and commented. It's a strange looking eye, do all of these Dojutsu look so different from a normal eye? Tsunami questioned while Kakashi covered his Sharingan back up. Most of them look a bit different than normal eyes. But that's what gives them their power. Anko explained while pouring herself more tea. You should see the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. Their eyes are solid white with veins distending around the eyes. They look like they're blind or sick if you don't know about them. She finished while sipping her tea. What about your bloodline, Naruto-san? Tsunami asked curiously while Naruto turned to look at her. Alright, but I must warn you, don't try and get too close to me while it's active, it could be a very unpleasant experience. Naruto told her. Tsunami nodded while still looking incredibly curious. Naruto raised his right hand, palm up, in front of his face. To Tsunami, Inari, and Izuna's shock a light purple smoke began to emanate from his palm, while a thick purple liquid began to drip from his palm as well. This is my Dekushu bloodline. It allows me to create various poisons from my body, grants me immunity to all poisons, and gives me the ability to turn even my chakra into poison. It's classified as a hybrid type bloodline because it affects both my chakra and my body, meaning it has characteristics of both a body-based bloodline and a chakra-based bloodline. Naruto explained while Tsunami and her family watched in awe as Naruto made the poison gas swirl around his hand. What about Sasuke-san's bloodline? Tsunami asked while Naruto absorbed all of the poison he produced to keep anyone from touching it. My bloodline is the Sharingan, but it has yet to activate. Sasuke grumbled out while looking down at the table. So you'll have a Sharingan in your left eye too? Tsunami asked curiously. Not quite, Tsunami-san. You see my Sharingan is transplanted, making it an artificial Kekkei Genkai. Kakashi explained while Tsunami's eyes widened. When Sasuke's Sharingan awakens he'll have it in both eyes. It also won't be fully matured like mine is, his Sharingan will have 1 or 2 Tomo in them at most. Kakashi explained before Inari shouted out. You mean you can transfer bloodlines to people who don't have them naturally? Inari shouted while getting starry-eyed at the thought of having a ninja bloodline of his own. Not really, brat. For Kakashi to get that Sharingan someone else had to die. Plus, most body-based and chakra-based bloodlines can't be transferred at all. They usually end up killing the person trying to receive them. Anko explained while Kakashi nodded his head sadly at the memories of his friend Obito's death. Oh, I'm sorry. Inari stated with his head bowed. Time skipped the night before Zabuza's return. Alright, I'm back up to strength. Tomorrow will be the day Zabuza attacks. According to Naruto all 3 of you can now tree walk, so your control should help you last longer in battle. Kakashi said as his team, plus Anko and Naruto, sat around the kitchen table preparing for tomorrow's battle. I'll leave several Doku Bunshin at the house in case anything goes wrong here, Kakashi-san. I may also leave a big group of rat summons as extra backup too. Naruto stated as Kakashi nodded at him. Good idea, Naruto. That'll keep Tsunami and Inari safe while we confront Zabuza. Kakashi replied while everyone was checking their supplies one last time before they headed to bed for the night. Worst case scenario, Kakashi, me and Naruto summon a large summon animal each and let them destroy Zabuza and whoever he has helping him. Anko stated seriously while Kakashi agreed. Alright, but only as a last resort. We want to avoid damaging the bridge as much as possible. We don't want to do Gato's work for him. Kakashi sighed before telling everyone to head to bed so they'd be rested for tomorrow's battle. End chapter. What if Naruto poisoned bloodline council bashing? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.